No. No. Too much art. Too little time.
In a world where art goes on sale.
Good. It was just a dream.
Did you dream about another art sale?
Yeah. You were there. You had a giant chainsaw, and you were slashing prices left and right.
Did it include your drawing basics course and my perspective course?
Everything, Marshall. No course or tool was safe.
Stan, that was no dream.
Don't sleep on these deals. Save 20% on all courses and tools during Proko's Black Friday sale. From now until December 4th.
It's so good. It's catching the light on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes
All right.
me look better than Hugh Hefner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Patrick Jones, as I live and breathe. How are you?
Great, Stephen. I got a little fear. What
Say
is
again?
going on? What's happening?
What have you got? Is
There's
there
a
a
double
tech?
echo.
Oh no, maybe I'm assuming that this live stream is possibly open in another YouTube window.
Stephen, it was. And I clicked it just at that point. I could have took the credit for it, but I didn't because it was too slow. But I saw it there, yeah.
No,
It always
it's
happens.
good to see. It's good to see you here. It's good to see everyone in the chat, whether you're live or if you're watching this as a video on demand later. It's good to have you all here. Today we're going to learn some wisdom from the master, Patrick Jones. He's a fantastic human and an even better artist, if that's even possible. Patrick, what are you going to be taking us through today?
Infinite monkeys, Stephen. Infinite monkeys. We're going to talk about the mastery of, and thank you for that intro. That was very kind of you. The mastery of emotion, because we were just talking before, what are we going to title this?
Mhm.
And I've got all these things up on the Proko sale, which, you know, it's 20. I love that video with Stan and Marshall, by the way. That was
Oh,
fantastic.
thank you.
That was so good. That was so good. Yeah. Yeah, the mastery of emotion. That's what I wanted to talk about today, because I've done so much stuff that's on Proko now. And I get so many questions about where do I start. And that was the impetus for this conversation we had beforehand. Where do I start? When people are stultified with a start, they just go,
Mhm.
how do I just start is the idea. I know that's a very simple idea.
There
But
was
I think-
a thing that you said. People think that the people just have these pieces come out of their heads entirely fully formed.
Yes, that's right. I did that little fast. I think I saw it in a movie once where maybe there's a cartoon where a guy comes on and he goes, and there's a painting, right? And I think most people think when they see an artist that's well into their career, that's how it happens. But I was showing on Instagram, and I think I'm showing now my entire screen. Is that correct?
I can add it up here if you want. Just go ahead and minimize that window of us so they don't have to see us too many times. We're just
Okay.
too handsome.
Okay.
It will be too intimidating.
Okay, over in
Here
the
we
corner.
go. I've got that
All
up
right.
here.
All right. So Instagram. So I was showing these little moments on Instagram where how I started painting, right? And it's the simplest thing. It's chicken scratching, right? So you don't have to be a great artist. So for instance, this is how I scratch out an idea for a big painting. So I don't slapdash it on there in a big canvas. Yeah, abstract artists can do that. But if you're a traditional classical artist, it's not going to fly. you can't promise.
You need some precision.
Yeah, you can't promise a classical piece and then you give them an abstract thing, you know? But this is quite abstract. And this is how I start. And it gives me all the freedom to attack that big piece because it's not intimidating. It's only that size. It's a tiny little thing. It's not a thumbnail like Roy Crinkle. You know, the term thumbnail is it only has to be the size of your thumb to read it.
Mhm.
And Roy Crinkle was astonishing. He actually did thumbnails the size of a postage stamp, and they were fantastic. And so when it's that size, there's no intimidation at all because nobody's going to zoom in and see if your anatomy's right. That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So I teach anatomy as the last idea, even though you can start with it as, a basis. Here's what we need to know. I think anatomy can be learned as we go along, and basic structures are the idea. And what I'm teaching today, what I'm going to draw today, it's already been drawn yesterday, but what I'm going to draw today is an idea of chicken scratching to show you how I'm not intimidated by the anatomy, which is an incredible thing to know, but you don't need it to begin with. You don't need the entire anatomy over to start a drawing, because everyone knows what a person looks like. So get that basic idea done. I'm going to do that with some chicken scratching today. And then I'm going to use my power of osmosis idea, which is basically start with gesture, then put the structure on. So the way I was taught was do the structure and then just keep on with that until you got something perfect. And I think perfect is a horrible idea, because no one ever looks at an artwork and goes, yeah, that's perfect. They might go, that's perfect, I love it because of these reasons, but they don't go, yeah, everything's in place. That's exactly the right proportion. No one ever does that. And so my idea of art is the mastery of emotion. So even though I do teach this, if anyone wants to go in there in depth, this is how I eventually get to the confidence to paint a big picture, is by understanding all of this.
When you say that you do teach that, what is it that you teach that in for anyone who's looking to possibly learn those things?
Well, that particular thing right there, this is still coming out, this book, by the way, that Stan did a forward for. But most of that stuff is in my books. That's frozen. Let's go to the Proko side up here. So that it's all blurred out. So Anatomy of Style 2, I think that one's in.
Mm-hmm.
All blurred out.
Yeah,
okay.
For some of the, like when you're logged out, we have a blur feature there right now, but it's okay. You guys can still see some of the things there.
All right, I got you. All right, so for my books probably have most of that stuff in, drawing from how to draw. That's a course, how to draw fantasy female figures. All right, so this book here, the line eye drawing from photographs. Right there, they've got, who's that handsome devil? So yeah, so here's the idea of it, where I block in the form based on photos on this one, and then extrapolate the photo into something better. So design is my main focus when I'm doing this academic kind of piece. So the books, basically, they're showing these ones. All right. So the books will give you that. I think that particular picture that I showed was from, I think it was from Anatomy of Style 2. I think. Anyway, so in the book, in the books,
you teach the more in-depth anatomy-minded kind of things in your books and in some of your courses.
Yeah, that's right.
But you think that a person doesn't necessarily need to do that right from the start.
Not the start. And that's why I built these courses this way. So basically, if you were to go through the courses, I would say start with this one, the Fantasy Figure Drawing Wizardry course. We are not intimidated by photos, and you go in there and scratch things away. Oh, good, there we go. This kind of thing here. Okay, so this one's for beginners and to intermediate is what it is. And I'm working on something right now, which is even simpler than that. Today, I'm going to test that out. But the way these courses work, I would say the Fantasy Figure Drawing Wizardry course, followed by the Power of Osmosis, which is the most important one because it bridges all the courses. The Power of Osmosis is basically like, was it Leonard that wrote the book about mastery? You have to enjoy, actually worship the plateau, where the middle section where you're actually practicing the art is the most important part. That repetition, that over and over mastery of the line is the most important thing. So the Power of Osmosis bridges all those courses. So you can pick that up at any time and say, I'm going to put that in between everything I do to make sure that my power never, ever dilapidates.
Yeah, keep the blade sharp.
It just keeps everything sharp. Keep the blade sharp, yeah. And how to draw fantasy female figures is for more advanced. That's the render. So everyone wants to render, but it's the reverse thing to do. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's the reverse thing. So I was looking at a series of paintings that I loved even when I was a kid. And this is quite recent, this one. So I'm still in love with the process. The process for me is everything. To see the artist's emotion on the actual canvas is so important. The mastery of emotion is what we're talking about here. And if I was a student and I was starting out, I might not admire that as much as a big super duper polished one, like, let's see, like this.
So to be clear, the paintings that you're going through, are we going to be going through your works by other artists?
Just for this presentation here, this my work and other artists.
Okay.
But these were particular paintings that, let's say I was 22 years old. I just remember that year being so significant because I was all about finish and polish. And it held me back because I was, I know it sounds weird, but I was losing my skills of design by the very fact that I was concentrating on the final result rather than the beginning of it. So this would have really impressed me. But today when I look at this, it's very awkward. You know, there's tangents. There's a tangent in here. There's so much in here that could be taken out. I don't know what's happened here. It's like a dimension it's another dimension in there. It doesn't seem to relate to the background.
And the lines of what is this? We've got a sword and something like a spear and the gun that are being held that are all kind of parallel to each other, but they don't reinforce the gesture that you got in the man in the front who has such a lighter value than everything else. You naturally look towards him. Yeah. So there's some structural issues.
Yeah, it's a magnificent piece still. But it's a magnificent piece of render and a magnificent piece of how to paint anything. So I've studied this for years. But if you looked on here, for years I hadn't a clue what was going on here. Here's what looks like a body to me. And then in here, the body doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some questions. Like, is this because someone cut that head off of somebody?
I think that's
the head by the knee?
Yeah, I think, you know what it is? It's that Stephen King thing where not the damn plot. Stephen King rails against the plot. He says not the plot because he thinks it destroys everything. You know, people have to tick all the boxes and make sure that everything conforms to the plot. And then the plot ruins everything because everyone's bored by the plot. And I think that's what we have here, too much plot. Make sure you get the head in. It's more like an art director would say. Make sure you get the head in. Where's Rupert? Make sure Rupert's in there. And also my girlfriend. Make sure my girlfriend has a scene in this picture. So it's a bit like that. Whereas this one that we looked at a moment ago is just pure mastery of emotion. It's just gorgeous. I would look at that forever and I always love it. And it also has the hand of the artist very, very clearly in there. It's just beautiful. I love it. Look at that soft edge right there. Just so nice. Look at all of the detail taken out in there to get that face. How his face is in darkness. Just look at this forever. It's just gorgeous. I love it. I love that picture. Whereas I come from a more academic background. So what I'm trying to do is break away from this tight academic thing. Whereas this is me in early painting years, still doing a really good job of it because I love the mastery of it. I love the process, no matter what the process is. If it's academic or whether it's loose and wild, I love it all. And so it gets me through that. Whereas this Steve Houston here, he just knocked my socks off when I saw that. Yeah. I keep saying to Steve, more female figures, please, because of the fluidity of it, just beautiful. I love that. And I'm veering toward Jeff Jones so much now. It's just sensational how much he took out. Look at the design of that. Look at the distance in here without any detail.
Absolutely.
Look at the sweep, the shapes. He was very, very good with hard edges. He was just magnificent with that. And the massing, look at the massing in there.
Yeah, no, the simplification of this to break it down to these like basic forms.
Yeah.
Good.
It's super, super duper. And of course, we always come back to Frank. Look at that.
Always.
Yeah. So these have been hidden for a long time, these actual preliminary thumbnails. And they're just magnificent. It's such, because he left no record of how he painted apart from this. And these are the chicken scratchings that we're going to talk about today. This couldn't be available without this. And the reason that looks so fluid is because of this. So even
you work it all out at this stage.
Yeah, that's right. And somebody said once, Frank was always boasting about doing a painting in a day and everything. And I think he did on some of them, maybe one or two. But someone said, a more reasonable voice said, the reason he's so fast or he could do a painting in a day is because he spent a week on the thumbnails.
That'll do that.
That'll do it.
Yeah,
Now,
because you come into it with this fully formed understanding of what the piece is, what it will be, and the
yeah,
parts that you need to watch out for. It's like
yeah,
if you were gonna go you were gonna go do some big like race, like an F1 race or anything. If you
yeah.
already know the track, when the time comes for the race, you're ready to go.
That's a good analogy. Absolutely, it's that every time. And also it's what We're also going to talk about today, which is the process. How to love and have an enduring life as an artist by enjoying the process, not the end result. The end result's fantastic and everything, but it's the process that keeps me drawing. I just love getting a pencil and making a mark on a page. And even I don't know what's coming, which is fantastic. So the drawings you'll see. Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
There was one question here
Yeah.
from a person. They had asked, "Hey Patrick, what would you say is the most important skill to develop in order to master drawing the figure without losing the fun?" I think some of that is what you're kind of talking about here a little bit.
Yeah, it is. I think it's the chicken scratching. In fact, let's get into that now, Stephen, so we can, I can articulate what I'm trying to say
Okay.
a little bit better. And it's in the chicken scratching idea.
Okay.
So I'll
Is that
hit
this video here?
the Wizard's Apprentice? Yeah.
All right. All right. So for those of you guys who don't know, the way that Patrick has structured some of his courses has them in potions. You have these individual sections that will cover different topics, take on different things, kind of like a chapter, but it's themed because it's fantasy. All right, so feel free to take over control and then scrub through that to go to the parts of this demonstration that you want to mention the most.
All right.
For you guys in the chat, please feel free to give us any sort of other questions. Like you saw, I pulled one up as it seemed relevant. So
Yeah.
if you guys have anything good that you put forward, I'll store it up and I'll put it past Patrick as it should be brought up.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, I'm not out of sorts anymore. So do you see a full screen, or do you see all of this white on the right and left as well?
So they'll see what you see in the little window
Okay.
of us. So it's just to the side of you and I.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
If at any point you want me to make it full screen for any reason, I believe I can do that.
Oh, that's okay. Or maybe I can. Let's see. There it is. Fantastic. All right. So please, like Stephen said, ask questions at any time. I actually thrive on I love questions. It's the lifeblood of it. So what I was doing this week was drawing in the idea of what would I have loved to have seen when I started out. Like we always saw the finished stuff. We saw all these masterpieces. It was so intimidating. It burned a lot of people straight out from the gate. They just went, I can't do that, so I'm not going to bother. It burned so many out like that. I had a student. They used to come in the art studio. I had a student come in the art studio once because we took them on as what is it? Interns? So, yeah, 2 minutes. Yeah, and they'd come in and they would learn stuff, and he would do some chores and make us coffee and stuff. So this guy came in. He was the dux of the college, and I says he was so good. You had to be good to come in, and he was so good. And I says, wow, that must be quite a college you went to. He says, yeah, they were great. I says, how many were there? And he told me it was like 150 or something. I says, are they coming as well? He says, no, none of them. I'm the only one. I says, are the rest already in the business? He says, no, they work in banks and they work in grocery stores. I says, what's that all about? He says, it's too hard for them. They didn't realize how hard it was going to be. And so they just said, the degree's good enough. I'll take that and use it for somewhere else, right? So he was thinking like that. And I think they were intimidated straight out of the gate by the greatness and how hard it was. So for me, I was too ignorant. I didn't know what was out there. I just loved drawing. And so I didn't have that intimidation. Ignorance is bliss. So here's what I would have loved to have had for those students. So we didn't lose all those artists that we could have had.
Because like those people who are just stuck in the idea of it having to be perfect, you want to show them that beginning part. So that's what we got here today.
That's what we have today. We're just going to scratch chickens here. And I think the professional artists are frightened to show their chicken scratchings in case people go, oh, I'm as good as that. And I don't care.
Yeah.
No,
I
don't care at all.
That's how it should be. Like people have seen in our videos where, and he'll in some video, he'll show him trying a million times to draw a straight line if the situation calls for a particularly straight line. Showing you've called them before your clangers. Yes, showing your clangers is important.
I think every artist should be forced to show their clangers. I think it should be a law Show us your clangers. Students have got it tough enough. There's no need to make it tougher with mystique.
Absolutely.
I was just sharpening a pencil there because it's been asked so much. So you can watch that again on the rewind. I put my finger underneath the pencil. I dread to say it to students because, it's almost like, well, you can't cut your finger, right? But as a disclaimer, I don't want anyone coming back and say I cut my finger. Well, you must have moved the pencil down below your finger. Do you know what I mean?
Because otherwise you've cut through the pencil entirely because you put so much force, or you move the pencil. It's on you.
Yeah, it's on you. That's my disclaimer. And the reason that I put my finger under the lead is because it can break so easily.
Yeah.
And so I want that supported. That's why I don't use an X-Acto knife, because you do that motion and it breaks. Mm-hmm. Whereas here, it's just look how still the pencil is. So I can just shave that all the way back. And that big nitrum thing, that's from Europe. I had my little sand. Yeah, it's beautiful. I had my little sandpaper block that size that everyone has. And I felt so deflated when a student walked in with a big nitrum pad like that. I says, where did you get that? She says, from Europe. I straight on the Amazon. Europe.
Just immediately, I want the paddle.
I have to have the big paddle. I'm Mr. Big Potatoes. Give me. And so the next time I came, it was with a knife. That was Jess. Thanks for that one, Jess. So I've got this beautiful nitrum pad now. And so what I do with the pencil then is I hone it. And once you hone the pencil to your particular hand and make some marks on the paper, I think that alone will stop you being frightened of the process. So watch, I'm going to make a mark here. Do you see how there's a couple of black choppy pieces there? I'm going to just soften that pencil off in a minute, right? Here we go. So I get rid of the grit, and I'm turning the pencil as I make those marks to see if there's any more problems with that. And as you turn the pencil, you're sharpening it on the page as well, because that's a 1710. It's quite soft. Mm-hmm. And now we can see we can blend that. So if I needed to go back to the nitrum, I would, but that was enough just to sharpen it on the page itself. Now that pencil will get better and better. So I'm constantly turning the pencil. If you watch the pencil, I'll constantly turn it in between strokes, and it'll sharpen the pencil even more to my hand, and it'll be the most beautiful pencil. Now, here's chicken scratching. Now, I teach gestural structure, but a lot of people like structure. So I'm putting a little bit of structure in here that has gesture. Now, I didn't invent this. This is going way, way, way back, those double Vs. And those double Vs are basically the idea that the shoulders where the bones are and the hips where the bones are basically the same for a female figure. So if I can get those two shapes down, I am fine. And where they intersect there, you've got a rib cage. So that's a really simple idea. For anyone that missed that or wasn't paying attention, let's have a look at that again because it's fascinating. I think it was Peck that taught me this. And it was one of the pages you just flip past and never look at again. And I went, there was something he did with V's once. And I re-explored it to see if it was useful for students that like structure and don't want to sit down and draw 10 heads or 8 heads or whatever that is. So there's my Mr. T and Mrs. V idea. Now, this is my idea. And I'm going to incorporate the two triangles in there with it. So there we go. There's the shoulders down to Mrs. V. And there from the pit of the neck down to the great trochanters is the next V. Look how that's already a female figure, straight off the bat. And stick the head on top.
The quick question here from the start. I'm stirring up some questions, but there's one that I think is good to get here in the beginning. So Nantil in the chat is asking, is he an inventive artist drawing from imagination or an observational artist? You are both, but I think you quite often draw from entirely imagination.
Yeah, these are all from imagination today. Yes, I am. You can't do it without observing first, of course. That's why life draw is so important. But what's terrific, if you draw enough at life draw, then you start to make these marks automatically. So I think a good exercise when you're at life draw is when the model stop posing you've already drawn from the model, is to draw the pose again. And I'm going to do that here. Draw the pose again in a simple form and draw it again when the model's not there. And very soon you realize that it's easier than you think. It's only hard if you can't break away from copying all the time. So break away from copying immediately if you can, and do some chicken scratching. It doesn't matter whether the drawing looks bad. You've already started to put it into your internal art engine. You've got that mark. Because what I talk about in the power of osmosis is the idea that the brain has different sections to it, and that your hand, your actual motor memory, is different from your visual memory. It's totally different. your motor memory runs on its own. So the more marks you make, you don't have to remember stuff. You don't have to go, was that a V or was that a T? The motor memory's already in there. And it's been well proven as well. It's in the basal ganglia. And I was talking about Thomas Mollison. I think it was Thomas Mollison. Well, he cut out his hippocampus because he was having he was having terrible fits. You can't do it today. It was the 1950s.
Yeah, no. This is the day of trepanation.
Yeah, and he stopped convulsing, and so it worked. But all he had now was a 15-minute memory. That's all he had.
Oh, geez.
But his motor memory was constant. He could draw all day for 15 minutes and keep drawing all this stuff from imagination because the motor memory wasn't affected by the hippocampus. Astonishing.
Interesting.
That's how they learned about neuroscience. That's how they found from that one poor guy where they chopped out his hippocampus. He was happy as Larry.
Yeah, no, I'm sure because if nothing happened in the last 15 minutes, what's he going to be mad about?
He has no trauma. And if he does, it's only 15 minutes.
Yeah, good.
So Henry Mollison, poor guy, but he really advanced science. Now, have a look what's happening here with these double triangles. So I'm just going to come back a little bit here on this. So I'm making a bunch of double triangles here, and I'm pushing them to their absolute limits to see what we can get out of it. And that's what chicken scratching is all about. And how you can do basic thumbnails is just put down a bunch of stuff and see what happens. And if it breaks, it's only broken on a scrap of paper. That's all it is. Nobody has to see these things. The only person that's showing this stuff is me right now. You know, when you're doing it, you can crumble it up and throw it in the waste paper basket, and nobody's the wiser.
Yeah,
you know?
No one needs to see what's inside your sketchbook, essentially.
No, Michelangelo, he said to his assistant on his deathbed, "Burn them all, burn them all." Antonio, and sneaky old Antonio didn't burn them all, so we have records. So good. Michelangelo knew that the chicken scratching shouldn't be seen because he had a big ego. So my big mantra is leave your ego at the door. There's no it's just a hindrance. So there's no ego here in these drawings. Now notice that I put a rib cage in here.
Looks like we lost your webcam.
Oh, did we? Okay,
Indeed.
So how do I get that back?
You might just need to reconnect that. There you go.
Yeah, just to click.
Nailed it.
That was easy, wasn't it? That was easy.
Well done. So you were saying there's no fear of showing that beginning process.
No fear. I think what you should do is go to Live Draw and draw with everyone watching. I think you should just get rid of the fear and realize that it was pointless fear anyway. You know, they say that 80% of what you fear never happens. You know, the fear is ridicule. The fear is laughter. It never happens. I've never seen anyone laugh at an artist drawing. I have never seen that. Unless they're really, really good friends and they're doing it for fun, you know? I have never seen anyone. It's always, you know, people want to help. So, I'm chicken scratching here right now, but it's based on those two triangles and where they intersect. And so where they intersect is the pinch. Do you see that? See that pinch right there? We've got a pinch where the rib cage bends into the obliques. So we can say, okay, we're talking about anatomy here. So this is the stretchy business here. This is all stretch. So there's a stretch there, and there's a pinch here. So I always ask, where's the pinch and where's the stretch? It's a very simple question to ask. And you can normally see it, unless there's an arm there or something, but you'll still know where it is because one side is obviously being pulled and the other side is being compressed. So you've got two ideas there, two triangles, a T and a V, and a pinch where they intersect. It's so simple. Then it looks complex, but everything's simple. So I'm putting in some complex stuff here. I'm going halfway down from this rib cage to Mrs. V to find that iliac crest. So here we are, from here to there as halves. And then from here to there is half of that. So half. So once we get to that point, we're just talking about two things all the time. Two triangles, a T and a V, and a half, and then a half between those halves.
And like you were saying, it's not something that has to be constrained by doing perfect anatomy or anything like that. Like these things are, like you've said, observational. You can see these landmarks. You can see these lines of the body. It doesn't have to be that you know every single muscle and tendon or things like that.
That's right. You don't need that to begin with. Shapes are more important. And as far as I know, the early sculptors didn't, well, they weren't allowed to dissect bodies. So they were just constantly going, that's always there, this bump on the rib cage, that's always there, this little pit in the middle with the sternum, that's always there. They didn't know what it was. So they just went, these shapes are always there. The problem with that is that if you get into an academic painting, you're going to have to know a hell of a lot more than that.
Mhm.
But for this position, for where we are here, you don't. You really don't need that. So to get your initial idea down on paper, you don't need all that stuff. And so my philosophy is then pick up an anatomy book and learn what you don't know. So when you get stuck on something, like say you get stuck here, and you go, I don't know what that is. What is that? And then you find out it's the 7th and 8th rib. Is that me going again? Oh, it's you, Stephen.
No, that was me that time.
And then
I'm hollering at people behind me in here. Stan and Kimberly are banging through some flat fold looking for something, it sounds like. Oh, man. I hope it's not making it through. I just hollered at them. We'll see.
I didn't hear them at all.
Okay, good.
I can hear them now. I heard them there. Yeah. Yeah, they're wonderful people. I love Kimberly as well. She's fantastic. Okay, so yeah, you can see here that I'm going out of whack with proportion here, but I don't mind because it's not a camera distortion. It's actually a dynamic distortion. It's something that I want to do. Now, that's not a good drawing, but it doesn't matter. It has all the stuff in there. And I can eventually go, you know, that might make a good painting. And then I can go in and start to maybe get a model or just hone it better, just take more time over it. The main thing is I put a scratch, an idea right down there, and it could be something or it could be nothing, and it didn't matter. It was only a couple of minutes, and within those couple of minutes you have successes and you have, and I don't call them mistakes, you have successes and you have things that you can work on. So you go, that wasn't quite right, I need to know something a bit more about that, and then you can go and learn your anatomy based on what's essential to you at that moment.
There's something I do want to point out to kind of reinforce what you're saying a little bit here. Yeah. So you were saying that when you look at this piece, you know that it's not like quote unquote a perfect drawing or like a great drawing.
Yes.
For other people here watching this at home who are maybe earlier in the process of learning, or even some of those people who are intermediate artists who just really like the way that you work, plenty of people will see these as being good quality drawings, something that they would be proud to put to publish online. But for you, as you're working on it, refining it, and then honing the shapes, these are things that you're changing. You're not being precious about it. You're acknowledging that you're pushing and pulling outside of what the human body would normally do. And then you're even leaving in the different construction lines that you feel were maybe misplaced, or that you want to refine and hone towards a shape that you like more, like at the hip, the waist here. On the drawing on the right side of the screen,
yes,
you have two different lines that are wildly different. If you were going to take these to the next level of polish, you would be choosing one of those maybe. But here, for the purpose of this, you'll just leave both those lines there, and it's fine.
That's right. Well, I would draw it again. I would go, that's a good idea. I'll draw that with a bit more care. Like the one on the left here has more care to it, and you can consider that one on the right a clanger, because you have to get your clangers out to get something good. This one on the left is starting to become something quite nice. And so I can discard the one on the right and say, you know what, this one on the left has a lot of promise. And that's how you do it. You just go boom, boom, clanger, clanger. Oh, that's nice. Clanger. Oh, that's nice. If you get 5 clangers and 1 good one, that's a good day. That's a really good day. If you get 10 clangers and 1 good one, that's a good day too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, every clanger is a success story because it leads to something better. You know, it gets that fear. The fear factor has to go. The ego has to leave the room. So, and that was a good point you said there, Stephen, is I think you should put everything out. Just put it, let's all be honest and put everything out on the internet. Say, here was a clanger day. Here was a good day. And then everyone could go, oh, it's just the process. Everyone has clangers. Everyone has, you know, a good and a bad drawing. It's just the process. What are we frightened of? If that's the process, then there's nothing to fear. So I think that if students are watching this and they go, oh, that looks good to me, it doesn't matter, because this one day will be you, and then you'll surpass that, and then and on, and that's just the process. And then one day you'll be smoking a pipe in bed and going, that was a good life. Now burn all those clangers, burn them all, so that I'm a hero in the future. You know. But as we live today, I think we should all be lifting each other up and going, you know, it's just a process. Let's all throw our clangers out there and see what we can get. Go on, Stephen.
So here early on, as we're talking about it, we're kind of getting into a place where we're talking about the process of how you do refine something if you want to, when you decide that you don't want to, different things like that. There are a couple materials questions that are popping up, as they invariably do during a demonstration. So one person was asking a couple. We'll get a couple things here. So Rob in the chat had asked, "What if you think you have a good piece of work? Do you trust it?" If you do have a good piece of work, Patrick, do you follow that instinct and work that thing farther from what you've got? Or like you said, would you start again with this idea? And how do you kind of judge whether you have something good?
Well, that's about taste, isn't it? I was watching Stan and Jeff Watts talking the other day. And, Jeff's got great taste. And it's a hard thing to define, And what Jeff does is he basically studies all the masters. And he's like me, he's a big Frazetta fan. And I think everyone ended up gravitating toward Frazetta because he made such great design choices. So a lot of it's taste. Some people have just basically got bad taste. But then, what is bad taste? I mean, I like kitsch. I like kitsch. Yeah. I mean, what's he called? Odd Nerman?
Oh, I don't know his name offhand.
Nerdum? I think he's called Odd Nerdum.
Okay.
He went to jail for fraud. But he was a great artist. He published a book called Kitsch. Because he identified his own work as kitsch. And he was so rich with kitsch. And if you want to call like the master of kitsch, it would be Thomas Kincaid. Now, lots of people love his work. I just can't even look at it. It hurts my eyes. But he was one of the most popular artists of all time. So I just embrace it all. I just go, you know what? If you like kitsch, go for it, Odd Nerdum, yeah. Nerdrum, that's it. Kitsch, more than art, yeah. He did some time in jail.
And that's how that goes. He got into more than art. He got into legal trouble.
Yeah, I don't understand it because he was so wealthy. I guess when it becomes an obsession money, doesn't it?
Certainly. There was one other one here that I think is important to get in at the start for the people who are watching this and possibly trying to figure out how to work and try to emulate some of what they see you doing here so that they can iterate as much as you're talking about. There was one question about your pencils.
Okay.
So make sure I have the right person. Josiah Flanagan had been asking, how do you keep your strokes so light? This is going to be a function of a couple different things. So first, Patrick, what is the pencil that you're using here?
I call that a Jeff Watts pencil because I didn't know of it until Jeff Watts mentioned it. 1710. It's 1710 Conte pencil.
Yeah, so that's this here, Conte a Paris.
Yes.
1710. I don't remember if it's 1710 and they're next to each other or not, but that's roughly the name. If you were to type this into Google, it will correct you.
It will get it.
And then the other part of that, outside of the tool the pencil that you're using, which is a charcoal pencil.
It is, yeah.
That is, you'll have different hardnesses for those of you guys out there who are curious about this. A softer one will go down softer, but it will be darker. A lighter pencil will be something that you can't make as dark of a mark with because it is more firm. So just for those of you guys who are wondering out there. And then when you make these really light marks that you're using the same pencil for the whole time, is this you actually pressing softer, like pressing more lightly, or is this more like a speed and using the tapered edge?
It's all of that, Stephen. That's the thing with it. It's all of that. That's why I sharpen that pencil to my hand. Here's a tip I would say, and I said to all my students when they come into Live Trial for the first time, my classes that I teach, is whatever weight you have on the pencil, reduce it by 50% right now.
Interesting. Okay.
Because when you first pick up a pencil, you feel like you have to have complete control of it. And so you hold it too tight. It should be like, fencing with a sword. If it's too tight, you have no control of it.
Mm-hmm.
You just thrust in. So it has to be, what I would say is make that mark that I made at the very start early on. So this mark over here.
That's your little tester mark?
Yeah, over just on the corner there. On the corner, I'm gonna do a dark to light all the way down. And you don't have to get the darkest dark right away. In fact, don't do that. Because it's a bit like layers in Photoshop. It will get darker the more you put down. It's not like a charcoal pencil. unless you get the woodless 8B, which is terrific, woodless 9B. But a charcoal pencil will just get shiny. Or sorry, not a charcoal pencil, a graphite pencil will just get shiny.
Yeah.
Whereas the charcoal never does, and that's why I love it so much. You can photograph it as well. So I'm doing this. I'm turning the pencil as I go to get a good smooth pencil, and then I'm seeing how soft I can get it on the page. So that's a good test right there. Run down the page and see how light you can get that. And somewhere in the middle there is what you should be drawing with. So let your hand guide the way. So I'll go back over here. So at the minute now, what I'm looking at is dynamics. I'm looking at, you can see I thought of the arm up and then brought the arm down. So I'm looking at, a sorcerer. I want this sorcerer to be really intense. And so I want as much gesture in there as possible, because I know that if I come to an academic piece, it's going to get tighter. Once I get models and stuff, it'll get tighter and tighter. So as much dynamism as I can get into the chicken scratching, the better. And there's where a bit of anatomy comes in, I'm already anticipating a model that's quite athletic. That's who I need for this. So I put a nice big deltoid on there, nice big brachior radialis, which is this forearm muscle. So I want that. I hire basically actors rather than, fashion models. They just know how to catwalk. So
Yeah, they've got the energy in them.
yeah, they want the energy. So basically most of the life draw, unless they're just transient, they're just backpackers or something, the life draw models are usually artists themselves, or they're dancers, or they're actors, and they're just fantastic. And they enjoy this. Like I was working with Amanda Ecken down in is it Pasadena? Not Pasadena, Huntington Beach. I was working with Amanda Ecken, and if you watch her, she sings the songs for Final Fantasy, and she's just fantastic. And I knew that she was, I asked for her to model, and she was fantastic. So you seek out these great models that are going to actually collaborate with you rather than just pose boredly, So find out, basically, when you start out like I did, your fellow artists are the models that pose for you, and they get into it because they're your friends and they want to be dynamic and they want to be in the picture. So fashion models are a no-no. I hired them once before. They're dead expensive, and they were terrible. It's funny. It's just a story. When I first came to Brisbane, I had no one. I didn't know models. I didn't even have friends to model. And so I called the model agency because I got a commission from New York to do a book jacket. And the model agency came back and I said, this model here looks good. And they sent me a price, and they said, how many books are going to be published? I said, I have no idea. It could be 1,000, it could be 50,000. I have no idea. And they said, well, if you can find that out. And I asked my agent, she says, I don't know. She said, it could be 1,000, it could be 50,000. I don't know. None of us know. It's a first run, and then they see if it's worth printing again. And they said, they sent the price through for, I think it was $6,000. And I said, forget about it. I says, that's never going to.
That's so much.
I says, that's not going to fly because I'm not getting paid $6,000. He says, that's not going to fly. And they says, well, can we come to some arrangement? I says, there's no point. I says, there's no way I can bridge that gap and make you happy. And she says, how much do you have? I said, I have $200. She says, okay. They sent the model round.
Wow.
From $6,000 to $200. Now that people say they're good negotiators.
No one is as good a negotiator as that.
Yeah, they sent her around, and I felt sorry for her. I says, I'm so sorry. I wish they hadn't done that. She says, it's better than not doing anything.
Fair.
And she was okay. But when I got the life models, they were off the charts. Brilliant. Okay, now what I'm going to do here. How much time have we got, Stephen? Because I might skip this part.
No, we will go as long or as short as you want to today.
All right. Well, this will be a good time for people that need to know about gestural structure to ask questions. I'm just going to put a structural drawing down now.
There was one here. If you do want to address one, I think this one might be about. Here, I'll just read you the question. So Kyle was asking, outside of the two triangles, do you have any other tips for making character bodies and faces more feminine? I personally find it that females need to have more implied shape versus a boxy shape in complement to a male shape, or in comparison.
Absolutely. And there's so many contradictions as well. Here was one here. So as you draw more and more, you get new ideas. So I'm all about mnemonics, about shapes that I can remember, because I can remember shapes. I can remember strange things. And mnemonics are all about what's strange. So as you can see here, I'm putting a hip in. See that? So basically, I'm just doing a long rectangle here. I'm using a Mr. T and Mrs. V. And I never, if people say, how long is that? I go, it's as long as you want it to be, or as short as you want it to be. But they have to be the same halves, basically. So basically, you get a half in here with a rib cage and then a half down for Mrs. V. And you're going to be doing okay. Now, if you stretch that, you've got a long model. If you compress it, you've got a short model. But those two shapes are the same. So basically, where the body bites into itself, it's going to be the same down to the crutch. But here's a little shape here. Do you see that? How I pushed up and around like that? That's a new shape for me. Do you see how it's an eagle? Do you see that? Or a bird with big wings? That'll take me right down to the top, right across the top of the trochanter and down again. And that's another mnemonic that I use a lot. If the legs are coming together like that, I go, okay, let's put that bird in, and it's going to flare the hips out exactly where they should be, as far as we can say the laws of nature go. The hips should flare out here. Now notice I'm putting those V's in afterwards just to check it. Do you see that? Now remember, those triangles are where the bones are, not where the shoulders are. The shoulders will come out beyond that. That's just where the bones are. So basically where the end of your clavicles and a little bit more. That's all it is. And that'll get you in a nice position to have this contrapposto. So you can see that the lines are going this way and they're going that way. And now we've got this little eagle shape in here to give me a nice thigh shape to address that question right there. And that's a really great silhouette right away. And I teach drawing for animation, and the silhouette's so important. If you can read with nothing in it, just a black silhouette, then you've made your point. You know, you've got
Absolutely.
a very clear idea there. So crossing an arm across a body is always a tricky bit of business. So I'm just thinking about the simplest idea for that. What is the simplest idea? Once you have, and that's a pipe. Once you draw enough, in life drawing stuff, this shape that is a curve and then becomes a kind of straight, it's two things. It's the deltoid and it's the scapula. And once you see that, you go, oh, that always does that from that position. Now, I didn't have to know anatomy to do that, but once I knew anatomy, that was such a revelation, such an easy thing for me to identify when I had a photographic model and was going to paint for academia and have muscles in there. That was a really great moment for me because I knew where the overlaps were. I knew where to put the hards and the curves. And here's an example of that. So just have a watch here at how that little eagle shape and that half from here to there for the iliac crest has really done me a great service here. Watch this. So as I come in, I can push out at that point for the great trochanter. See that? So that's the obliques coming down to the start of the great trochanter and then back out again. That's for legs together like this, which can be quite tricky. Things that look simple are sometimes the hardest thing. In fact, often the hardest thing. And once you get an answer to that question, there's a beautiful silhouette because the hips are always coming out past the crutch before they go back in again. That's why I draw those little arrows. And they can keep coming out. It depends how much weight falls on that hip. So if anyone watched the what was that 3D movie where they're all in space forever and they lose bone mass because they haven't exercised? I think it might have been Wall-E. Remember Wall-E?
Okay, yeah. When people they end up, I don't think that one is them losing bone mass for that. I think they just lose the mass because they're lazy.
Yes, that's right. They're just sitting there eating big Slurpees forever.
Uh-huh.
But it's funny because you see the X-ray and there's still the skeleton in there, but
it's just floating inside the body.
The skeleton's floating inside this mass, and that's the way that subcutaneous layers go. So this can keep on coming out here, depending on how much mass is produced from, maybe a dormant lifestyle, that kind of thing, or just genetics. It could be that. So I throw those arrows down. If you go to Italy, for instance, you'll see a different shape. You'll see a more curvaceous shape. And, a lot of that has to do with heritage. A lot of it has to do with the diet there,
Mm-hmm.
So Sophia Loren, one of my favorite go-tos for a model. And they said, "Do you work out?" She says, "No, all of this is pasta." You know, but it wasn't just pasta. It was just that she lived a normal life. You know, she walked around, she exercised, she did all this, but just naturally. So she's this natural, curvaceous beauty. Sophia Loren, she shouldn't be forgotten. Check her out. Her face, her shape, everything you need to get a feminine shape down on the page. It was Sophia Loren in her prime. So I often think about her when I'm drawing. So you can see here now, there's the iliac crest. You see how it pulls that sartorius down to underneath the knee? That's just another one of those many, many things that I've learned as I go along that help me draw from imagination. And you'll see it in all of my courses. The wizardry course will teach you that. Then you go on to the osmosis course to really solidify that so that you can draw like this right now. This is basic osmosis here. This is the power of osmosis.
There is a course or a book of yours. I forget offhand right now. I think it's a book that you have where people are intended to draw along with you to kind of like naturally take what it is that you do as they work alongside you. That's osmosis, correct?
That's the power of osmosis. So basically, you can, if you just sat down, let's say that there was no instruction. This was a silent movie, and I will voice over this eventually. But let's say it's a silent movie, and you just copy what I'm doing over and over. You will learn loads. That's osmosis. Your motor memory will hold that. Now, once you get the voiceover, and it's a verifiable memory now with actually cognitive reason for it, then you've got everything you need. So the osmosis will take you a long, long way on its own, just making those marks. So the power of osmosis is you draw. And you can copy someone, you can copy all their lines without even understanding what's happening in there. And that motor memory will be there for you when you actually start to understand what you just did. So when I started out, all I was monkey see, monkey do. So I was all osmosis. And I was doing some great work, but boy, was it painful. Because everything was square one again. Every time I had to do a boot jacket for a major publishing company, they must have thought I knew everything about anatomy because the figures were so good. I didn't. I just was monkey see, monkey do, and it was painful. And so I have a book on Proko there called Oil Painting Techniques, and another one called Oil Painting Mastery. And you'll see that the paintings, even though the recent ones seem to be, the older ones seem to be the same quality as the recent ones were done in half the time with twice the pleasure, because I was no longer monkey see, monkey do. I understood all of this stuff by that point. Mm-hmm. And I used to start painting with fear. I'd go, oh, I'd spend the day looking at books and then not do anything. Go, it's 4:00 now, so I may as well just start tomorrow, And that can be 4 days in a row if you're not careful. And it could be forever if you're not careful. I was just watching a TV show there about writer's block, where a woman she's promised her publisher a book by the end of the year, and she hasn't written a chapter in 4 years. That can happen. Annie Leibovitz, I think she's called, in New York, hasn't written a book in 30 years. She's on talk shows all the time. And she's a great writer. She's had that forever. I don't know why, because she writes so well. But I do know why with artists. It's because if you don't have this stuff, everything is square one again. And it's a monumental task. So osmosis will get you a long way. But all of it together, with the voice, with the artist's thoughts in there, that's something I dreamed of when I was starting out. Just dreamed of it. Mm-hmm. It's all there in my courses.
Yeah, no, absolutely, very much so. One of the things that I think is nice about the way that you teach, like not every single artist out there, and certainly not every instructor out there, could have a book where someone gets to draw alongside them and have that be a thing where they can still learn while drawing alongside you in a more bespoke way than just doing a master study. I think the way that you work, you are very clear in leaving markings in your work that shows indications about the different landmarks that you saw, the way that you use those, where you drop a line and you build off of those. So I think that it's a very approachable, they're approachable materials for people to learn alongside. The one thing that I did want to bring up in here, because they always have the mechanical questions about how you draw something. Yeah. This is actually perfect. So what you just did in the video, you took out a tissue This is perfect. What was it that you used the tissue for? Was that to lock something in because of the lighter lead, or was that to knock it back, kind of like an eraser pass for you to take another crack at it?
Yeah. Well, you can think about it. I'll just pause the video for a second. You can think of it like this. Photoshop layers. So what I'm doing here is drawing from imagination. So it does two things. It makes it look a little clunky sometimes, but it also gives you more fluidity. And it's also more of a pleasure. There's nothing kills the joy so much for me as to reference a photo back and forth. I mean, I enjoy it because I know how to do it now, but this is the ultimate joy. It's just drawing. It's just drawing everything. But with that, you may put it down there, and someone that's just starting out might go, it's not that great, is it? Because they're used to seeing something's been practiced and then put on the page with reference off screen, something like that, and made to look like it was just straight off the top. Now, some people are great; they really are brilliant and can just do it like that, like Lane Draws. I think you had him on earlier. I have to watch it this week. What is his name? Because is it Lane Draws? That's not his name.
So Lane Brown. Lane Draws is what he goes by online.
I thought, how lucky was he to be born with that name? He had to draw. He had to draw.
I mean, it was lucky that Stan was born with the last name that he was. It lined up perfectly with the YouTube channel name.
Yeah, absolutely. How easy was that? I didn't see that coming. So what I'm doing here is drawing something between a clanger and something that might be something. Okay, so I'm doing, I'll just press. Yeah, the reason I wiped it back, that's ghosting back. So when I go, yeah.
It's like removing a layer.
It is. And what it does is, what happens is, when you're starting out, you kind of start with big dark lines, and they're indelible, and you're frightened to change them. Whereas if you start really light, you can put many lines down. Like Steve Houst says, many lines, many times. And that's how all the old masters did it, And so you can see how many changes I've done on the hips there, because I'm not sure what I want yet.
Mm-hmm.
And when you ghost it back, it gives you a second go. So when you take the tissue and ghost it right back, it does what it says on the bottle. It makes it a ghost. And then you can start again and get something like, you can see I've dropped down onto the lead broadside there a little bit to get that sartorius, because the sartorius isn't a line. It's a shadow shape. But the line that I put down to begin with, can you see the arrow, Stephen?
I cannot see. I will say, no, I can't see you moving your cursor on the screen.
Can you ask the audience if they can see the cursor?
They cannot.
They can't see the cursor?
Yeah, what you see on your screen there, minus your cursor, is exactly what they see.
Oh, right. So I better explain. So the sartorius is the line that's coming from the crest of the hip down to sort of to the right of the left thigh there. You can see that line. And I just put a broader dark line on the other side to show what that would look like. It would look
you're
like
reinforcing a little bit.
That darkness. So these broad lines you see here with me dropping the pencil down onto its broad shape are now the idea of killing the construction and actually looking at the flesh on top. So you can see that I'm using my digits as tools as well, my fingers and thumbs. Mm-hmm. Look how I hardened the edge of that scapula as well. And now there's the broad of the pencil. So learning to love the pencil is a thing as well. You can see that the Conte of Paris now is facing us. As we go along, that'll probably not. So I'm always turning that pencil to make it the best pencil for me.
Do you have a pencil that you use most often? A hardness? It's a conversation that's happening a lot in the live chat here.
It should be a conversation. People say you can draw with a banana. It'll look like you drew it with a banana. So I believe you should get a good pencil. And the 1710 is a great pencil.
What is the hardness for this one that you use the most?
I would say the hardness on this is probably medium. So I don't think, for me anyway, I don't get the darkest darks out of it. So it's a great pencil for sketching.
What would you say is your medium here? Just an HB?
Oh, I see what you mean by that question. I'd say this is a medium, 1710. Okay. It doesn't have B's or anything on the 1710, or maybe it does. Maybe it is.
They do.
Oh, right. Well, I think it was a B. That rings a bell.
Okay.
And if I go any harder than that, it usually breaks. But there is a pencil that I call the finishing pencil, which I really love, but the lead can break so easily. And it's the General's Soft.
Okay. And that makes sense.
You can get the darkest darks out of that. I call that my finishing pencil. And so I'll work with that if I want to render something to high heaven.
Mm-hmm.
but I've started doing the medium on that because the soft just breaks all the time. Now, I did find the little tool from Europe again. Those Europeans, they're such an old country. They've got everything. An old, not a country.
There's a whole big group.
Is Europe a continent? I think it is. So in Europe, I sent for this thing. It was called a hovel, I think, and
Okay.
it was a small golden plane. It was like a little, and it was beautiful. I just wanted it as a desk ornament, and I bought it. And it took so long to sharpen the pencil. I went, I've got an infinite amount of years left. I'm not going to waste my time on this hovel. And then, like everything, I've got this soft general's pencil that just keeps breaking when I sharpen. I thought, the hovel? And I brought the hovel out. And because it was so soft, the pencil, the hovel just did its job. And I write, okay, the hovel is for the soft pencil. And the hovel was revived. And I use it.
It just takes that outer layer of the thing.
It's just soft dust. If you could get a micro shot of it, you would just see the dust come off.
Yeah.
Of the very fine blade.
We've got some of those here. I've got that at home. I don't end up using it enough because I personally, I don't need that kind of a nice precision honing, because we're talking about the tool, small little metal thing that you hold, and then it's kind of like a plane for working wood.
Yeah, it's brass and it sits in a wooden box, and the box collects the shavings.
Yep.
Is it the same one? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was expensive as hell, but they give you blades with it, and as far as I can see, those blades outlive me because I've never changed the blade. It does its job. So the good old hovel came out. Now you can see that this is becoming something. This is chicken scratch in, and I'll scratch, and I'll go, you know what, this isn't going anywhere, and just leave it, and that's the way it should be. On this one, I went, you know what? This could be something. This could be a nice little standalone.
Patrick, if you'll let me, I want to show people that tool real quick.
Go ahead, please do.
All right. So, because again, people love seeing a tool. So I'm going to bring that up on this end. This is the tool that we're talking about.
That's it.
Yeah.
Look at the price of it. That's disgusting.
It's entirely too much. This is the hovel, the pencil plane from this company, Maker's Cabinet. They have a lot of very nice tools.
Yeah.
Chances are you guys at home don't need this thing, but at a certain point, if you find yourself running into a thing enough, go ahead and spend the money on something if you do need that. Respect yourself and your time and your tools enough to do that when you find that you actually have a need. There are some other things that they have here. I have this at home. This one, and let me tell you, this I use. This I use, Patrick.
Really?
Yeah, because it's so finely tuned. It makes a perfect circle that you can put down. It's wonderful. It's also fantastic to fidget with. But again, this is a thing that I could probably get away with just using a plastic sheet that has many size circles on it.
Yeah.
I ran into enough need for this. But
did you buy the sheath?
Did I buy which?
Did you buy the sheath for it? If you go down the page, I think there's a sheath.
Is there a separate thing for it?
There it is. Back up again.
Let's find out here.
Down again.
Oh.
Nearly. Next one.
Is it this thing? Goodness, no.
Oh, no. Yes, the Irish sheath. Only $70.
Oh my God. It's just a leather circle that you put it into. They found a way to get more money out of us. And you know what? It's fair because mine are all scuffed. This
there you go.
ruler that you have here, I wish I had put that on there.
I think I'm going to have to get the hovel sheath.
Yeah, you get this one here.
Yeah.
You know what it is. At all times.
Yeah. You know what it is. It's a great gift. For an artist, it's a gift. If someone's thinking, what will I buy for an artist? That's a nice little gift right there.
Yeah. I'll give you back the drawing side here. I just want to show an oddity for people. People enjoy the thing. But yeah, so that's a tool that you'll use when you go to sharpen your pencil to try to avoid things breaking for that general.
Yeah, that's a very, very soft pencil I use the hovel for. Now, how do I get this back again? Which is that? So I can control the controls. How do I get it?
If you just I might have done the wrong one here. I will bring up this one.
Oh,
this one I believe you can control.
There we go. All right. And now we're talking about tools again. So that little tool we just saw a second ago there. Let's see. Yeah, this is me reinforcing things now, and also starting to show a little bit of style. When I started out, I was known for being able to emulate styles. When I worked in advertising, they'd say, "Oh, we need this kind of style," and I would do that style. So I was very interested in style from an early get-go. But the worst thing you can do is try and start with a style, because the style will find you from your love of what you do. So you can see a little bit of style here by, oh yeah, you can't see the cursor, but where the rib cage meets the obliques there, where we bend, you can see that I've used a soft ghosting line on one side, and on the other, completely lost line. So I'm not joining those lines. And that is part of artistry. That's the mastery of emotion right there. You don't have to show everything. If you show everything, it becomes perfect. And perfect is boring. It's really boring. It's a colored in book then. So broken line is a great way to find style. You can see how many different lines there are there. If you just look down on the leg itself, how many thin lines, how many thin dark lines, and then thin light lines, how many broken lines, how many thick broad lines. If I feel the calf is thick, I'll do a thick line to outline that calf, because we're not made of lines. So I have to give you the emotion of the weight of that by putting a weighty pencil stroke down there. And that's how we get it. And for this, I don't like to delineate the face too much, because I don't want to think, oh, it has to be this kind of model face. So I just put down basics, because I don't know what the model's going to be like. Because I'm going to hire a model if I'm going to finish a painting. And this is what I show to the models. I'll go, this is an idea I have. So, that kind of like the emotion of this pose. And here's what I'm thinking. This person's forlorn. They've lost something. Whatever it is, I give them an emotion. And I show them the picture. And then I take the picture away.
So I have a question here for you, Patrick.
Yep.
And I'd be curious. I think that a lot of people here who maybe aren't in a place where they have to ever consider hiring a model or working with a model, what is it that you think you have to gain from having a model come in when you already make a piece that is as fully formed as these can be? What's the purpose here? What do you think that you gain from this?
That's a great question. And that's where we are right here. We're artists and bashing this stuff out for, artists that really, when I started out, I hadn't a clue about anything. And so these things pop up. Like I was working for a collector once, and I showed him all of the crickets, chicken scratching, and all of this, getting to somewhere close like this one and say, here's what I'm thinking about for this composition, right? And I says, now, if you can approve that, write that, I will go to your working sketch and we'll get a model in, right? We'll get a model in, we'll work with a working sketch, meaning that I'm going to draw from a model, just like the old masters did, all right? So the old masters didn't start a painting based on a chicken scratch. They started a painting based on a model being in front of them. And so I would hire a model. And I remember this collector said to me, because the collector didn't know, said, I think maybe a different idea for the sketch. After I'd hired a model and drawn from the model and ready to transfer that onto a canvas as a finished painting, because I had the reference now, he says, I think we change the idea and get a different pose in here. I says, but you've already signed off on this picture. He says, but can't you just change that? I says, well, it won't be an academic painting then. I can give you something abstract. He says, but I went up to Neil Adams in a convention, and I says, draw me a picture and another picture, and he just did it. I says, that's what I just did. I said, well, if you said to Neil Adams, now paint an academic picture, he would say, oh, well, I'll go and get a model, and I'll get a pose model, and I'll paint from that. Because you now want a three-dimensional, everything in there, muscle, sinew, lighting, you want all of that in there. And you want it from this chicken scratch? So he didn't quite understand it. I said, once the working drawing is in front of you, that's what's going on the canvas. So there's two different things. So what I'm doing here is chicken scratching to get an emotion. So show it to the model, and maybe a couple of these are just basically for let's say you want to be Neil Adams, you want to just finish a drawing from imagination. That's what this part right now is. And that's what they do at conventions. So if you want to be able to draw conventions, this is the moment here. But if you want to take that and produce an academic painting, you have to hire a model. Can't think of anyone that could do it without one, unless once again it's going to be Jeff Jones and it's abstract. It's not going to have the look of Michelangelo. It's not going to have the look of a,
And
a
the,
finished. It can't.
and I don't think you would ever say that this is a knock against the people who do work in that way, because you
Yeah.
also like working from imagination. There's
I love
definitely
it.
been a time where you've made something entirely from imagination. You step
Yeah.
back and you look at the page and you're like, damn, that's the best freaking thing I've ever made.
Let me show you it. Let me show you exactly that. So I'll just
All
pause
right.
there. All right.
I'd,
and I'll
I'd
show you
love
the
to see
difference.
it.
Okay, I'll show you the difference. So now, how do I get onto the full screen? Is it that button?
We'll go back. I'll go back to your screen share
Are you
here.
going to do it? Okay.
Yeah. So I have got remove other media. So I'm going to remove this. And this is our screen share back. So
Woo!
we're going to see
Infinite
everything
movies.
that you got. I'll be able to see when you switch over, and then I'll bring it over.
Thanks,
So
Steve.
you
Steven's got it.
leave the full screen that you've got there.
Yep.
What you've got, you'll see like a little kind of like not filled in square.
Oh,
You
the
see that?
plus? Right.
Um,
The square with the X on it?
There you go. Oh, you'll present your screen again at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Share
present
screen?
your screen share, and then
Okay.
bring up the window that you want.
Got it. Entire screen.
In the meantime, I'll go ahead and share things from a couple people. There was a person from here. This is Arun, I think is the person. They just said, just got your fantasy figure drawing course on Proko, and I'm loving it, Patrick. You're a fantastic
great.
teacher. I
thank you.
agree.
Thank you.
All
Who was
right.
that?
That was Aruna Ashok.
Thanks,
I think is what we've
Aruna.
got.
Thank you so much. That was such a nice thing to say.
Let me
Thanks,
know
Steve.
if I messed up that name there.
Such a nice name. Here is me at a convention, right? And someone gave me a nice compliment. They said, your section of the convention looks like the Louvre. Now,
That's fair.
that was nice. That was nice. Now, why did it look like the Louvre? Because the paintings in the Louvre were painted in this manner. They were painted with professional models, professional artists, academic styles, and they had the reference and the lighting set up like Caravaggio did. You know, they had it all set up, and now they started to paint. But they went beyond that. They put more emotion in than you would have. You took a photograph of the models posing, and you got just, yeah. But the painting that comes from it, it's got a million different ideas in it. Colors have been subdued, shadows have been masked, you know, things have been highlighted, things have been hard-edged and soft edges. A million things goes on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now let's look at a painting that would be done with thought reference. So all of these are referenced. I had to pose models. There's the wonderful Nima there. That's me putting it down in monochrome and then putting glazes on top. So you can see the difference there. Monochrome, kind of monochrome, and then glazes on top. So that's the academic way to do things. Here's how I paint. So as I'm scratching around in the paint there, but I have a model for this. You know, I've already posed the model. It's been the working sketch has been signed off, and I'm off to go. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to change it. Look how many changes I've made to that arm as I go there. And when I first saw Frank Frazetta's work, I noticed these lines outside, and I couldn't understand what they were. And they were so dynamic. And I thought, what is that? Is he doing that on purpose? And it wasn't until later that I realized he's changing things on the fly.
I see.
What a master he was. He had an arm, but he wanted a better arm. So you can see that I'm just painting straight into that canvas, which is a raw canvas that's being toned down. Now you saw earlier that I put an underpainting down, and it was really, you know, everything was in there, and all I had to do was paint on top. But here you can see that I'm painting directly onto a sketch on a dark surface. So it gives me the ability to change things around. This can't be done without models. It's just academic. It has to be, look at all the ribs in there. I could have a go at it, but it won't look like this. It'll be something exciting, but it won't be this.
Yeah.
So I would love to do it, but the artist or the collector was going to go, that's not what I paid for. So you can see me painting, but here, this is how I take the chicken scratch into color. So I'll scratch around in pencil and then scratch around in paint. And when I see that, going back to that question, how do you know when something's going to work? That's when you know. You've done your chicken scratching, you've done your scratching on the paint, and you've gone, blur your eyes. Oh my God, I can see the future. I know this is going to work. Get me to that canvas. I want to paint this right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want this. I want that.
There's one example that I think is one that people have seen referenced possibly before that I think might explain it to some people.
Yeah.
If you're up for me sharing another thing here real quick.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share the screen window. All right, so there's this statue. This is a Michelangelo piece, and there's
Yeah.
this one little division that happens in here from this
Oh,
one
yeah.
tendon from pinky activity.
Oh, I know the medius. It's tiny, yeah.
Yeah,
Micro.
and
Yeah.
so if you
It's from
weren't
that.
looking at somewhat, yeah, like this tiny little
Yeah.
movement that you do,
You can see
and
it in
that,
your own arm. You can see it.
yeah, and if you weren't working with a model in that situation, you might think, oh yeah, I've got
Yeah.
the main muscle masses of the arm in
Yeah.
there. It's great. I nailed it. But if you work with a model, you'll actually see this and realize. Here, I'll give you the full screen. Show off that tendon.
It's the mini digi. Do you see
There
it
you
actually?
go.
You might actually be able to see it moving.
You can,
See
indeed.
it? It's
Yeah,
the mini digi.
So otherwise, like if you were just to be looking at like I put the arm in there, I got the arm, and you
Yeah.
you nail whatever these other muscle masses are.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily have this one thing that's a product of the grip movement on this. Having a model that you work with will give
Yeah.
you that extra layer.
Yeah. It's magnificent.
Yeah, so I just want to
Michelangelo.
show. Wait, oh, I think I put the wrong thing back in the screen.
Yeah. Michelangelo was off the charts, you know? He's rightly revered. I always
Agreed.
look at a statue of David. I always look at that and go, that couldn't be done without alteration. That is
So-
not monkey see, monkey do. It's just there's so many things in it that aren't human. They're superhuman. The big
Mhm.
hands, the big head, you know, all those muscles, all of them happening at the same time, which is, you know, you'd have to do a time lapse. And he animated a statue. It was just incredible. It was fantastic.
It's amazing work. If you want to bring up that work that you were talking about
Oh, yeah.
of yours, please feel
Yeah.
free to bring that to put that back on your screen, and then I'll put your
Okay.
screen back up.
Okay. And so what one was it again? Why am I so bad at this?
Oh, it's okay.
Share screen. There it is there. Okay. Entire screen and share.
All right,
that
and
it?
then I'll and you just bring up your Instagram window or wherever it was that you were sharing the images from, and I'll put
Oh,
that
yeah, the
back up.
photos. Yeah, so I wanted to show you what I would like to do, and most artists do anyway. I love this part. See this part of just searching and finding and then blurring your eyes and going, yes, this is it. This is it. I can see the painting. Now, you'll still get feedback from the collector because, you know, at the end of the day, it's collector's money. You know, it's a lot of money, and it's their money. And you can't just be an auteur and blow their money and go, I'm going to paint whatever I want.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it, you know? Man, yeah, I've had conversations a bit like that.
So if you can bargain a person down from $6,000 to $200, I think you might be able to do it, Patrick.
Yeah. Well, the collector wanted a more, which is a good choice because, you know, blue recedes. So they wanted that more of a blue thing, but I wanted a more of a desert heat. So that was my original idea there. Now, there's no doubt that the collector's eye was there because if everything's monochrome like that, it will flatten the distance because, you know, warmth comes forward. But it doesn't mean you can break all the rules. You can do anything. And I wanted to break the rules there. And that's the thing, you know. Once you want to break the rules, you get hauled back in by the ears. It nearly always happens. But you can see here that that's a very tight drawing. And that drawing is based on a model being there. The model was me, actually. I remember that. And the wonderful Alana. Now, Alana does not look like that. This is going back to the Michelangelo idea. Once you know how to draw from imagination, once you've got the model there, you don't need to just trace it. You don't have to just trace it. You can do that if you want. There's nothing wrong with it. But I have really filled Alana out there. I have put more weight where I know it would land, which is here, for instance. I know where it would all land. And here, all of that stuff to make her a more voluptuous person. I mean, she looks amazing. She's very athletic, though. And for these times, it may have not rung true for a princess. So I needed to soften her out a little bit. So you can see that happening there. And there's the stages of it there. So there's stage one. So I glaze a lot. I love this stage, to be honest, you know. And as you get older, you want to just leave it less finished. And there's the next stage. You can see all the chicken scratching on the edges there. And, you know, you lose some too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that was better than the final result. You know, this light and I probably overcolor, but I know that the collectors love it. The heat on that arm. There's so many choices you make when you're painting, because it allows you to slow down and make new choices as you go. You go, oh, this would be nice if I put a little bit of heat in there as you go.
I think you found a way to push that warmth back in there, because you put the warmth around the faces of the what look like those like lizard creatures in the back.
Yeah, I did.
You still got it in there.
Don't give the game away. I did. I sneaked it back in. But that's my idea of analogous color, is that, I think that if there's warm somewhere, it should be everywhere in some kind of connection. Otherwise, it looks like a green screen. You should have some of that background in the foreground. That's always been a theme of mine anyway. But you can see how much. Look at that warmth on the edge of that, the soft edge there. You can put so much in it. Look at all the massing in here. That arm's disappearing. It's just not in the photograph. Look how many blues and greens I've sneaked in there. Look at this beautiful. See that? Look at that. Oh, look at that bite right there. You can almost see that bird shape that I showed earlier when legs are close together and then they come around, find you the great trochanter. That makes painting this very quickly, or very easy. It's easy for me to make a quick decision, is what I was meant to say there. It's easy for me to change things on the fly because of that. But I wanted to show you chicken scratcher painting. There's a painting without reference. Actually, there was a bit of reference, but this is how I would paint without reference.
Yeah, and so this is you exploring in a place where you're just kind of like finding your way around.
Yeah.
And like just pulling what you can out of it rather than trying to adhere to something directly.
That's it. So this is what a painting of mine would look like if I just drew a sketch. I actually did have a model around to show people what I was doing. What I was basically explaining this is how I would do it, but I wasn't looking at the model. So that's how my drawings would look like if I painted. Right there. It's a tricky one to explain, but I was basically saying, here's the model here. You don't need them. And this is how I would do it. So there's a big difference between that and that. Even though there's a lot of similarities in both. There's a lot of made up stuff in both of these. I want it to look like a painting. I don't want it to look like a photographic representation of something. I don't want that ever.
And so the thing that you were saying earlier is kind of that you do the things, you get the clangers out, you do the exploratory things. So then later on you can refine your knowledge and then do something that's more like not necessarily hyper developed, but more developed, like these works, where you get to really enjoy it in this deep way, in this like exploration and refining. But you also don't necessarily just love the things where you spend tens and tens and tens of hours on something. You also enjoy the things where you just spend time drawing from imagination, inventing and refining, and see what you can extract from something.
Yeah, that's all wonderful. That's the whole idea. Enjoy the process, whatever it is, all the way through, as long as you're making marks, whether they be in paint or pencil. And you can see Alana there. Now look at the difference between Alana.
There's a drastic difference.
You see that? And look what she can be, because she's an actor, she's an academic, she's everything, she's a smart person. And look what she can be. She can be both of these things. And she can be that other thing as well, based on that I can add to it. You can see the drawings in the background here. I'm teaching a class that I can add volume wherever or take it away if I want. Look at the ribs. Look at the ribs in there, for instance. So, so there's the model. And if we go back,
we've got what that result was.
You can see what the result is. The difference in it is that. You see?
Because of the knowledge and the combination with that invention that you've got, both of those things working together.
It comes down to one thing, Stephen. If you can draw well, you can paint well.
Okay.
If you've only learned to paint, it's going to be a real chore. And it doesn't mean you can draw well. I know many painters that can't draw stick because they're monkey see, monkey do. But if you can draw well, you can do anything. You can take those skills. That's why I work in charcoal, because I believe charcoal is basically paint, because it does everything that paint does. This is the power of osmosis promo. So this is the power of osmosis here. And you can see here that I am going to finish a drawing in this based on the osmosis ideas I go along.
For those of you guys out there who like what you see in this, when you're learning to draw with the power of osmosis, Patrick's courses and his books are on sale for 20% off on Proko right now through the entire month. because we don't want to have you just have to buy everything in this mad dash where you're also deciding whether you're going to buy Tide Pods for cheaper right now. We want you to be able to buy it in a comfortable time for you so you can learn and plan out what you want to get. Sometimes you want to buy a book from Patrick Jones. Maybe you want to buy a course from Patrick Jones, but maybe you also want to buy another course that we've advertised with one of the other live streams that we've been doing this whole month. So go ahead and find out. I put a link in the chat. There's a link on the screen here. There's a link in the description. So many places for you to possibly buy Patrick's work. Or you can head over to Patrick's website, pjartworks.com, sign up for something like a newsletter maybe, and get notified as new things become available.
Subscriptions would be great. That's awful generous of you, Stephen. Subscriptions would be good. Here's what I love about Proko, and I mean like the collective, all you guys, is that you have my philosophy, which is to lift everyone up.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, no. We are not here to just get to do things for us.
You're just brilliant. And, I say that with total candor. I totally 100% believe that, because you wouldn't believe how many grifters approach me for, can we put your stuff up on our site? And I won't go into detail about it, but it's just exhausting. And then Proko, a whole different world. I won't say too much because it's political, but you already know of a big
some other websites out there.
I mean, a big school that collapsed recently there.
I mean, we can speak about that one plainly if you want. There have been articles and articles written of that one. That's not on us. I think you're talking about CGMA there.
I was with them, and they were wonderful, wonderful people. And then you get and I could see the blood in the water. They came up one day, and it was obviously when they were being bought over, but I didn't know that, because you don't know what's behind the scenes. And they said to me, we're going to change everything. So now you're going to be more. And basically what they were saying is, you're going to be an employee teacher, and we're going to be your masters. That's what I felt when I went, this isn't a contract I signed. The contract I signed is we're collaborators, which is what I am with Proko.
It's how it should be.
We're collaborators. That's how you make brilliant things. That's how great things are done. I went, hold on, I'm the teacher and you're the boss. And they kind of went, yeah. I says, I'm odd. Now, the thing was that, and this is what I would say to everyone, don't be afraid of a contract. A contract is for everyone.
Yeah,
read the contract. And I always go right down to the copyright part. That's the first place I go. Copyright remains with the artist, right? And then I looked at it and it said, belongs to us.
Which is trash. You produce your courses. You make it.
That's right. I says, I can't work with that proviso, so I'm out. And they says, well, what would you like changed? I says that it belongs to me. And they went, oh, right. See, and they used the old thing, but all the other artists have signed it. Well, that's not me. So I said, no, look, a contract's for two people. It's so we're both comfortable and then we're happy. And that's what a contract's supposed to be. It's supposed to be for everyone to be happy. I said, so I'm not happy. And they says, well, what if you left? And I says, well, let's give it a year. I leave. You have the content for a year. I mean, that's only fair as well, because I don't want the students to be out of, if they've signed up for the course. I said, so if I leave, it's a year, and then I put that all in legalese. Yeah. And they went, okay. And it was a bit like that 6,000. Sorry, I've only got 300. And they went, okay. So they went, okay, and I was happy. I went, oh, thank you. You're such nice people. Yeah. And so now everyone's happy, right? And so I smelled the blood in the water, and I get out.
Yeah.
And so.
People shouldn't sign their stuff away, whether that's your artwork, whether that's your courses. It's a good thing that it has come up as much as it has, since the different schools out there have kind of collapsed and had a harder time holding on to people who are aware now that they can make things for themselves and find a better deal elsewhere. It doesn't have to be with Proko, obviously. Yeah. People can teach on their own websites. We're also happy to help people learn how to record and post things on their own websites. You don't have to do anything with us. We just don't want you to sign exclusivity with someone else and sign the things that you made away. To be clear, you don't have to work with us. Just don't do it with people who want to take advantage of you.
Look, see this hair? That was once the luxury item you see on the top of Stephen's head. That is something I thought, oh, not that. And now I love it. I go, this is great now. I can walk into a hotel and use the Wi-Fi and walk straight back out again and lounge around as much as I like and have people come and sit and say, would sir like a tea? All that stuff. This is a passport to anywhere you want.
You got the respect there.
I've earned this, right? And so what came with that was me over the years, being able to come back and say to you guys, don't be afraid of a contract. Just make yourself happy. Proko is an amazing place, and I'm saying that I tell you, I have been around for a long time, and I have been, I've been through the ringer 100 times. So
Unfortunately.
I know when I'm comfortable. That's the way it goes, So what I want to do is, give some of that back and say, look here, this is a place that's safe. This place isn't safe. Now, sometimes you can't say this place isn't safe because of legality.
Yeah, contracts and other stuff.
But I tell you what, I have still to this day people calling me up and saying, "There's a great opportunity," and I go, "Is it?" And it doesn't.
It doesn't look like it when I read the contract.
You scratch the surface a little bit, and you go, "You mean for yourself?"
Yeah, it turns out that the solid gold brick they were offering you was just gold foil on the outside.
Yeah, I've already bought the Brooklyn Bridge. I've got plenty of real estate, It was like that. If anyone doesn't know what that is, basically, in the old days, they used to sell the Brooklyn Bridge to people straight off the boat. You can own this. Just take your money.
Yeah, and they'd be like, oh, for how much? Oh, absolutely. They give away all the silver they brought with them.
Yeah, you can own the Brooklyn Bridge. So,
it's a bummer.
It's still going on today.
All that being said, you guys should go find out things from Patrick on his website, over here on his Instagram if you want, or you can get it with Proko if you want, where it's on sale right now. It's all up to you. Doesn't matter. You should just buy good courses to teach you things, or follow along with free videos and other materials that Patrick posts here. So you guys should check those things out. Patrick, did you want to take us back into the chicken scratch now?
Sure. Am I going to say, how do I do this again? It's ridiculous.
No, it's here. It's here. All you got to do is just minimize that screen that you see on our side. So you just minimize that browser window.
Uh-huh.
And then everything else that you're seeing on your screen will have.
Oh, no. I did the wrong thing.
So hit that on the bottom right of that. There you go. Hit that one.
Yes.
Now minimize the whole browser window.
Gotcha.
There we go.
All right. Here we
got
go.
through this together.
We see we went up. That's great. Yeah, all said, guys, honestly, Proko are great people to work for. If you guys are looking for, wholesome, I would say, a good wholesome place to be, then you can't go wrong with
Thank
Proko.
you.
Honestly, one of the best things that I ever did. Okay, so there is the part of osmosis. It's the pride of what I've done, I think. And, I rarely get to draw hands, so there's loads of hands in there as well. People say, where are the hands? When you're in a light draw class, it takes as long to draw a hand as it does to, draw the entire figure. So in the power of osmosis, I show lots of ways to draw hundreds of... Where is it? Can I do this?
Which is the thing you're trying to share?
I'm trying to get this little video on hands.
I don't know where that'll be in your folder.
Yeah, let's not worry about it. Let's get back to this. And if I find those hands by the end, I'll look.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Okay, now where were we? We were back. Am I back on this?
Do you want to share something from your screen, or do you want to go back to the video that we shared earlier? Okay.
Back to the video, Stephen.
All right,
we can actually get that and then see what time we have left.
I think it was this one here.
It was, yeah. Okay, so I'm big on gestural. Can I do this? Yes. I'm big on gestural structure. So what I like to do is start with gesture and then put structure in it and then end with gesture. That's what I do. That's my whole ethos. But there's something in between, and it's the gesture within the structure. So I did like everyone did, started with structure. That's how we were taught. And everything was always clangy. It was always clunky. It never worked. So what I like to do is put a curve on everything, even if it's structure. So look at the curves I'm making here. Now, notice also the rhythm. Watch this rhythm. So I'm drawing with a few ideas here. Gestural structure and rhythm. So I draw like this. I wonder if people can see me. Can people see me?
Yeah. Do you want to be full screen?
No, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So when I draw, I have this method of drawing. I'm right-handed. Okay, so I have this method of drawing. It's like this. Oh God, it's a mirror, I think. Is it? No. So I have a method of drawing like this, where I go like that, and then I go straight to the other side, and then I go to the other side, and all the time I'm going down and in that diagonal like that. That's how I tend to draw the figure, from this side to that side to that side, all the time. Now that's drawing with rhythm. Okay, Stephen, if we go back in again, you can see that.
Gotcha.
Okay, so watch me draw with rhythm. And that's why you got to do all the courses, is because you don't have to do all the courses. But if you want the full volume of how, because this took me 40 years. 40 years compressed into 4 courses is not, it's a big compression. Right?
It's a lot. 10 years of course.
10 years of course. I'm glad one of us is good at math. 10 years of course, right? So that's the great thing about downloadable movies as well, is you can rewind them. You can go back and forth and back and forth. And the reason why I wrote my first book was because I couldn't find a book like that. And so I wrote that book. For me, I went, you're going to forget this stuff. Write it down. Because I was teaching it. And I wrote it down, and everyone loved the study sheets, these things that I'm drawing here, where they can take notes, photograph it. The students used to photograph every drawing I did in class and take it home. And some of them would come back and go, have you got the photographs from before? Because I lost mine. And I thought, oh. And you know what? I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do it properly and compile a whole bunch of them and bring them into class. And they loved it. That was their thing. For the end of the class, they'd just come and photograph everything. And so I thought, right, I'm going to write a book for me. And I wrote it. And I thought, you know what? Other people might like this. So I put it up on my web store. It was one of the first things I did. And then a publisher called me, 2 publishers in the same week, and said, would you like to make this a paperback book? After years of going, what's the mystery? How do you get a book published? How do we do that?
It just happened.
It just, they came to me and said,
yeah.
Believe it, I went to. And they were both really nice people, but I chose, the publisher that I'm with now, and it's just wonderful. I'm so lucky. So what a wonderful publisher. Thanks, Yak. I really appreciate you.
What is the company that you work with? In case there's any artists here who need a publisher.
They're from Carrero. They're a bespoke one. They do they basically do burlesque and fantasy, and so there's nothing really beyond that. There's no academic stuff that they do.
They have a focus.
Yeah, the closest to academia they've got is me, because I have a bent on it, which is fantasy as well. So the only how-to books they have are mine. But I really appreciate we're great friends. I meet up. I'm lucky with friends. I really am. And you might call it luck, or you might call it intuition. So basically, I stick with the good ones, and the bad ones are a bad memory, So I think I've got a good intuition for who I stay with. And, and I appreciate friends, and I appreciate good people to work with, so I stay with them,
Mm-hmm.
And it makes everybody happy. I'm happy. There's nothing worse than being a disgruntled person.
Certainly.
That works for a company.
Yeah, I think you're applying the same idea to your personal relationships and your business relationships as you do to your art. You get the clangers out, you move on to the next one.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I've worked with companies that were problems and went, no, this is over. I'm very quick to move on if I'm treated badly, which is good for everybody, But they're stunned. They're always stunned. They go, what? Yeah, I'm going now.
Yeah, it's like, wait, you can move on? Absolutely, I can. Goodbye.
You have agency? How did you get that agency? You little snake. Nobody else has it. That's not true, but, I was odd a couple of times on companies. And every time I made the choice, I found there's a saying that comes to my mind all the time. If you take the hard choice early, it's an easy life later. And if you take the easy choice early, then it's a hard life later. And so I kind of learned by that. I go, look, this is hard, or this is uncomfortable, but it's comfortable enough to stay. And a lot of people do that. They stay in uncomfortable situations because they're frightened of, the hard choice of what's out there. Mm-hmm. What's out there is too scary. I'm going to just stay in this horrible place. So I don't know who brought us down there. Who brought us down to that dark place?
This is story time. This is story time, Patrick. It's not a bad thing.
It's story time for grown-ups. It's a bit scary. It's a bit scary, but it has a happy ending to it.
Business is a spooky one, man. I put a thing in here for the chat, the public chat who's here right now. Yes. I want to get some questions that we can answer from people for the last stretch of the video. I think if you guys have made it this far through the whole thing, you guys deserve to get some questions answered. Yes. Even if you can't necessarily afford to buy a book or you need a little more wisdom from Patrick Jones that you can't get from those VOD experiences that we've got on the channel, put those in there. In the meantime, I do have a few stored up from earlier. Would you like to tackle some of those, Patrick?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and leave the drawing footage up on screen because I think that's just nice to see while you're talking about it.
Sure.
Okay, so we have got a couple inspiration questions, and then one that's here about the way that you work. Which one do you want to talk about, your inspirations or process?
Let's go with inspirations, and then we'll go to the process.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so Nancy Hill Rodriguez in the chat was asking, whose gestures have you been inspired by?
Whoa, I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. Whose gestures? Gestural drawings. Steve Houston and Glenn Vilpo.
Okay.
And Stan.
Aw, you sweetheart, you.
I'm telling you, Stan is knocking it out of the park recently. I'll tell you, I've been looking at his stuff. He's just been putting up stuff there recently. Just fantastic. Jeff Watts.
Okay.
Jeff Watts is so, I don't know how he does it. You know, it's very unusual for me to think, how does he do it? And Jeff was talking to me. Jeff was on my Art Agents podcast. And he was talking about how he's wired differently. And he definitely is, because how he draws at the speed he draws is astonishing to me. And he told me he has aphantasia, which
really now?
That's what he told me. And I cannot believe, I mean, I still have to get my head around that. Do you go to a supermarket and you read the, beans are this section, and you look at the word beans? I don't know how does aphantasia manifest itself.
Yeah, I can't imagine that situation. So for anyone out there who doesn't know what this is, I imagine you probably all do, because it's a very interesting thing that comes up in social circles. But aphantasia is a thing where if I think the classic example is if I say apple to you, different people will picture an apple maybe to a different level of fidelity. Someone pictures the thing picture perfect. It's got every single bump, like nook and cranny on the thing. Other people imagine more of like an outline. Some people, it's just a blank slate. They don't think anything. They just think the word apple, and they don't see a visual.
Yeah. And it's really, I hope I got that right. I'm pretty sure Jeff said he had that. And I wonder if that frees him up to draw without being encumbered by image. Do you know what I mean? He just goes that line, this line, this line, that line. And I think Glenn Keane also has
Glenn Keane does, which is nuts.
It's incredible, right? So are they working on their motor memories? Is it draw, boom? I wonder. I don't know. It's a mine of in-depth research there. We got to look into that. It's amazing.
Agreed. Yeah, find bottle up whatever it is that allows these people to still work despite that. So you were saying, okay.
Yeah, and I don't have it. I see everything. I'm very vivid in my imagination, and always have been. And that's why you don't know how other people see things. And it made me think, does everyone see red the same as me? I don't know. I've always
Patrick, I think since I was a little kid, when I learned about the color spectrum, I had this idea that so let's say you've got your spectrum. Here, I'm just going to grab anything that's vaguely circle shaped. Let's say we've got like red here, right?
Yeah.
So if you have another color that's on the opposite side of that, it's always going to be the same color relationship in opposition to each other. So what's to say that what I think of as red isn't just rotated a little bit, and this thing that's red to me is a different color to somebody else, but they're all consistent with each other the whole time. I've been obsessed with this idea of people just perceiving colors just like an hour on the clock different from each other. Blows my mind.
Astonishing. And so I just think about warm and cools now. I remember talking to an art it was a guy I worked with screen printing. I used to do t-shirts for him. And he says, how do you see color? I says, just really warms and cools. Warms and cools. He said, what do you mean? I said, basically just basic blue and basic orange. I says, like that photograph there, that blue, the opposite color of that blue is orange. Mm-hmm. And he says, how would you know that? I says, well, just do a negative of it. And he pressed the button for the negative in Photoshop. He was blown away. He had no idea that was something that is the opposite on the color wheel. Yeah. And all you have to do is do a negative of it to see that. And he was astonished. He was absolutely astonished. And, that's the way I think of it now. If you can simplify everything right down to, darks and lights, warms and cools, and analogous color, like I said earlier, try and fit a little bit of everything into everything, and it'll never look like a Photoshop montage. Because really, basically, those warms and cools are everywhere, and they reflect and they bounce back up. When you're drawing pencil like this, you don't have to think about any of that. And that's the great thing about drawing with pencil, is it's easy, But
You're
it's
freed up
really
from some of
hard.
those concerns.
But it's really hard if you don't know how to draw. It's the hardest thing in the world. So this is me kind of drawing. And I know that sounds like a strange thing. This is me drawing. But what have you been doing before? Well, I've been showing how to draw. This is me drawing now, okay? And I'm showing a little bit of what's underneath there to get to this point. At this point, I'm quite fluid now, and I'm drawing like you see artists draw. They're not teaching so much, they're drawing. So I'm teaching at the same time here. I'm teaching how to draw now. This is how you draw. You don't think about everything. You don't have to put in every bit of anatomy. You can ghost things out. You can put the emphasis here or there. You can ghost the face off. You can put a hard line here if you think that's going to have a significant impact on the painting. So I'm drawing for painting here, right?
That makes sense.
I'm just drawing. So basically, this is motor memory plus emotion. That's what's happening here. So there's not so much analysis, because the analysis has been built up from repetition, from osmosis, over and over. And now what we have is the result of that, which is draw with freedom. You can't draw with freedom without drawing lots. You can't do that. And that's what I see with Jeff. He just draws with that freedom. He's just boom, 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 boom. I can't believe how fast. It's almost like it's sped up. And I drew next to Jeff. And I remember going, don't sit right next to him, because you won't be able to draw. You'll just freeze up. And so I sat at the back of the room, and every once in a while I peeked over and went, you shouldn't have looked. Because I knew he was going to come over at the end and look at my drawing. And so I just, like a coward, I just rendered the hell out of one drawing so
That's fine.
So he wouldn't be disappointed. So he can look. And the model of the two, she says, I'm a vampire now because I made it into a fantasy drawing. But yeah, we can all, even though I say leave the ego out of it, it's an ego.
There's some in there. It's always going to be.
And you can try and bury it as much as you want, but when Jeff watches looking over your shoulder, it's there,
Yeah.
I wanted to impress him. Is it good, Jeff? Do you like it, Jeff? I wanted to be that, because I knew his was going to be, completely brilliant. So yeah,
it would be a hard one to sit next to that person, like you had talked about, like a person whose figure drawings that you look at as an inspiration.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. When I first talked to Steve Houston, I couldn't speak. I just went like that, because there are gods, Steve will walk down the street and he'll go and get some groceries and nobody will even notice him, unless they know him. But I'll go, there goes Steve Houston. And if there's a bunch of students with me, you go, is that really Steve Houston? And we'd all clamor toward him and would almighty Steve, because that's what it's like. We have our heroes. Now, but we're all just ordinary people. Now, look how many choices I'm making here. And this is another great thing about Proko. And even before I knew all you guys and come over to see you, when I taught class at university and they said, I'll look online for stuff. I says, online's it's a nightmare. You'll get de-educated. You'll learn bad habits. I says, there's only one place to go, and that's Proko. Just go and look at Proko. I did, I swear. I'd say, go and look at Proko. And if Steve Houston puts something up, because at those times, at that time, you didn't see so much of Steve, but you still you saw a lot of Proko. I says, go and look at Proko. And that's what I could, firmly say and not have any blowback on it. Mm-hmm. And so, but this is going to stay up too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every single one of the live streams that we're doing this month during the sale, those will be there in perpetuity.
And that's great, and that's another good thing. That I believe in abundance too. Put stuff out there. Here, have this. And so, what I would say to people watching this now is use a bit of osmosis. Go back and draw along with this, and stop it at the start. Here's what I normally say: it depends where you are in the chart. Let's say you've just started, you haven't ever drawn anything at all, right? I would say what you can do is you can draw to this point and then draw it again and then draw it again and draw it again. And then you'll go, this is actually quite easy. And then go to this point and do the same thing. And at some point you're going to go, I thought this was impossible, and then go to this point, and you're going to go, I can draw. I can draw. It's alive.
Mhm.
It's alive. You can get to that point. So, but it won't be this, but it could be in the future. It'll be something like this. And then your repetition will make it in the future. Someone will say, wow, how did you do that? And then you're the person that's teaching it. And someone else. See, it's just a lineage. It's a lineage on and on. That's what we want. We want lots of teachers, lots of artists, lots of abundance, lots of people showing how they do things instead of hiding it. Because I want to see great art. I want to be on my rocking chair on a porch going, I had something to do with that child. That child once studied under me, and now look what they can do.
I give them this mastery.
I don't believe you, Grandpa. I once knew this fellow. Yeah, that's what I want. I want to see lots of great artists out there that I, at some point, knew and helped along at some degree. That's what I want, and I want other artists to do that as well. And being a teacher really makes you a better artist as well. Having to explain it. So I'll take it to this point, because what I usually do in live draw classes, we'll take a long time. We'll draw over this, to draw this. I don't know how long this one was. 25 minutes is usually about what I would spend on something like this. And I've slowed down for this one because I'm gearing this toward a beginner. So I've slowed down a little bit more than I usually do on my drawing demos. I do lots of pauses, so I'm going to talk in between those pauses. So this is a good one to follow along with because it's aimed at, beginner to intermediate, Wizard's Apprentice. So what I usually do is I get it to that point. And when you get to this point, you might go, you know what? That was really great. But to start this again would be quite terrifying. And so what I do is I do a smaller version of it and then a smaller version again. And that really builds on the knowledge. What I'm drawing there now is rib cage. And there's the bite of the 11th and 12th ribs. That's the anatomy part. There's a drop shadow there. Drop shadows are great. That's what I loved about America. When I first went to America, I went, who turned the lights on? These hard shadows are sensational. Because I used to see it in the Brandywine art, and I used to see it in Norman Rockwell's art. Where I came from, the clouds just skimmed your head like that. There was no hard shadow.
I understand why you, as an artist, you want those hard lights for that, so you can observe all these plane changes and everything. But man, boy, do I love a soft cloud light. Whew.
I love it. But I want to draw the hard shadows. I saw Boris's Vallejo's pop off the page. It was because of those, because he had the three shadows.
Yeah.
He had the drop shadow, he had the core shadow, he had all the shadows that you need, the form shadow in there, the drop shadow, and the occlusion shadow where things meet each other. And on a soft light, on an overcast day, the colors are more intense.
Lose it.
Yeah, but that's all you get, intense color. But you don't get all that 3D that you get in that Arizona light. Those those Western painters.
This is probably because that's specifically where I grew up. It's one of those grass is greener situations. So for me,
where were you, Stephen?
So I'm in one of the most. I grew up in one of the most famous Arizona towns. In
I remember
Yuma.
you saying that.
Yuma, Arizona. Yeah, so like 310 to Yuma. Like
310 to Yuma. I loved that when I was a kid. I loved that film. They remade it with Russell Crowe, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, I'm from that place, and so for me, I'm like, no, give me anything but Arizona sunshine. Give me some clouds, and you know what? I'll take some water while I'm at it because we don't have any of that.
Oh, that's what it is. That's why I'm the same. I'm a pluviophile. Pluviophile, I think it's called. I just love the rain when it comes out, and so I'm lucky to be in. I'm lucky to be in Australia here because Australia doesn't mess about. It just goes. Here's your sunshine. Jesus. Here's a thunderstorm. It's a deluge, You go, what the hell just happened? And now it's over. Here's your sun again. You go, what? Oh, that'll dry me off. That's what I love that. It's a very decisive country when it comes to weather.
You were talking about like form shadows and being able to see things. I'll get us one last question in here. So Garo Paga in the chat was saying and then asking, Patrick's teaching is hypnotic. I'm doing the drawing the female fantasy figure course and I'm loving it. Here's a question for Patrick. Yes. How do you organize your values? Light versus shadow. Do you have a demonstration you think in this video of kind of a way that you break that down?
Ah, right. I tell you what, the easiest way to do it is to just do the drop shadow first. That's what you
Okay.
want to do. So when you think about comic books, basically all they're working about with is occlusion shadow, which is lines, where things meet, like where the arm meets the body there. That's basically comic book
I do
art.
think that you did do that just a little bit ago in this video.
Did
If
I?
I can try to scrub through, I
Go
remember
ahead.
seeing you actually drop the line of that shadow just
Ah, yeah.
after this.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see.
Once you get the drop shadow in, you know exactly what you're doing next. But what I'm working with is nearly all occlusion shadow there, where flesh meets flesh, where things bite against each other, and then imaginary line, because we don't have
Mhm.
lines on the outside. So yeah, I work with the line first. I mean, John Singer Sargent worked with mid-tone first, which is astonishing. But I kind of the easy way to do that is just to make the ground dark. So basically, if you're working on canvas, just tone it, and you can call that the mid ground, and then you can work the lights and darks out of it. But if you get the drop shadow down first, then you can really work off of it. Basically, if you put the darkest dark down that you think you're going to need, then everything else has got to be not as dark as that. Go ahead, Stuart.
You're meaning the actual drop shadow from the full figure onto the ground, then not just the cast shadows coming from
Oh,
something blocking the.
when I say ground, it's an old term. I mean canvas, like a
Oh,
surface.
I see. Okay, okay.
So yeah, so the old term for anything was ground. The paper is the ground, the canvas is
Mhm.
the ground. And so basically, if you put the darkest dark that you think you're going to use first, then you can say nothing can be darker than that. So nothing can really be darker than an occlusion shadow. So where flesh meets flesh. But the occlusion shadows themselves, some of them are going to be in the light and some of them are going to be in the dark. So I'm saying to myself, the bottom of this figure is going to be the darkest part. And so that occlusion shadow there is the darkest thing that can be in this.
Mhm.
So an occlusion shadow up here, where this is going to be in light, would have to be lighter than the occlusion shadow here, which is where flesh meets flesh. But because we're artists, we can break the rule at any time and say, well, I want a hard dark on this scapula, just to say, look at the scapula. And that's the thing with art. A camera can't do that. We can. We can say, here are the rules, and here's some broken rules. And by golly, the broken rule is going to just blow your socks off because you didn't expect that, did you? It's going to be
Mhm.
wonderful. There's that lovely moment in the movie about Turner where he has this monochromatic painting of the sea. And he comes in, it's probably apocryphal, it probably didn't happen, but I hope it did, where he comes in, it's already hung in the gallery in London, and he comes in with his paint and he puts a blob of red in the center of it and then leaves the room. And everyone comes in and goes, what's that? What's he just done? He's put a red in the center there. And then he comes back in and he shapes it a little bit, and you can see that it's a ship at sail. It's a red thing. That's the only red thing in it, and you can't look away. And so he broke the rule. He went, look here, with this broken rule, and just astonished everybody.
Mhm.
So you can break a rule every once in a while. Every once in a
Absolutely.
while, I'll just throw a blaze of something in here. But if he took that red and put it somewhere else, two reds, show's over. Would have been awful. It would have been a ping pong game. It wouldn't have made an error. Ping pong. I can't say the word. What's the matter? I need a drink of water. Pinball. Pinball is what I was trying to say. And ping pong was coming on. Pinball game. Stephen,
Is,
you know what pinball game is? Does anyone know it anymore? That's my
is
childhood.
you said ping pong or ping pong?
Pinball. Do you know what
Ping ball. Patrick, I couldn't get there for a second.
I can't get it still. Is it pinball?
No,
What do you, when you throw it
we,
and you go
yeah,
ding, ding,
no,
ding, ding, ding.
we have a person here in our office, Kimberly.
Kimberly, what's that called?
Kimberly loves pinball. To know, like she loves pinball more than absolutely anybody else in the whole world.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, so much. No, Kimberly is a person who when do you know oh my gosh, I forget his name right now. Marco Bucci.
Yes.
Marco Bucci is a person who built his own pinball machine from scratch, coded the thing up. He loves pinball so very, very, very much that he built the thing himself. He made the animation that he put into the thing. Oh man, dude's he loves it too much. And whenever he comes through, Kimberly also, like, the only thing that they will talk about the entire time that he is here or that she is around him is going to be exclusively pinball.
Well, let it be known next time I'm over. Kimberly, take me to the pinball arcade and let's get that show on the road. Because I used to be the pinball champion, but it was so many years and years ago. People used to give me money to play the game so that I would clock up free games.
Really now?
So every once in a while it would go bang, 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 and that's the free games. And so it was at Naval College, so everyone would go, give him another $1, put it on a little coin.
If you just kick the score up so high.
And it was great because I get to play for free, and they put all their money on the machine, so I could keep on going. And then everyone got an extra game, and I made a little bit of money. So that was my little go-to. I can play games with this ching change that they've got, and they're getting 10 games for every $1 they give me.
Incredible.
It was amazing. And that bang sound was so intoxicating. Bang, bang. I don't know if they still do it, but it was a big bang and people would.
I don't know of that, like that particular thing happening, but also, Patrick, complete transparency. I do not play pinball. So maybe a place that specializes in pinball does have this kind of thing still active in this day and age.
And you know what? It would be a good proof of the motor memory, because I haven't played it in decades. Would I be still go in there and be able to do the stuff? I bet I can. I bet I can still do it.
I believe so. It's a muscle memory thing.
A muscle memory, yeah.
And speaking of muscle memory, if you yourself out there in the world want to have drawings easily flow from your hands, you can make that be a muscle memory thing too with Patrick Jones's courses over on proko.com/Patrick Jones. You can find books, you can find courses, and all through the rest of this month, those will be on sale for 20% off, as long as it is still November of 2025. If you're watching in the future, chances are Patrick's probably put out a new book or a new course or something that you can also find over there at Patrick Jones on Proko.com. Or, hear me out, you can go to his website over at pjartworks.com, sign up for a newsletter, maybe see that he's got a sale going on over there in the future. It's 2032 and you're watching this video thinking, what's PJ Artworks up to? You can find out. Or you can follow Patrick at this link, or this name over here on Instagram. He's also on other socials, but Instagram's a good one because he's pretty active over there talking about.
That's where I go now. Thank you, Stephen. That's so nice of you. So nice to hear.
I think one of the things that people can find pretty often on your Instagram that they don't find in a lot of other places, like maybe here on Proko, where we have some free videos with you, sure, but the thing that they can find on your other platforms that you post about pretty often on your Instagram is your podcast, The Art Agents.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Can you give people a soft pitch for that here towards the end of this live stream?
Yeah. Now or near the end?
Well, right now, because we're here at 2 hours and 2 minutes. I don't want to keep you too much longer.
Oh,
Patrick.
yeah. Well, this is nearly done anyway. Yes. Yeah, the Art Agents, we get together, me, Rachel, and Melanie, who were previous students of mine, and actually do the critiques at Proko. So you'll see them in the critique part of, they're lovely people, Rachel and Melanie. And the idea is that they will eventually do it themselves. And so we've had great guests on there. Stan's been on, Jeff Watt, Steve Houston, a lot of the artists that you see on Proko have been on there, and we talk about how to take agency, a bit like I was talking about that contract. When I first walked out into the street to be an artist, I hadn't got a clue. I had no idea. I just walked out a complete, what do you call them, a rube? Just walked out rejected by everybody. But eventually made my way through it and learned a lot. And there's a lot to be learned from ignorance. And so I had that. And so with the Art Agents, what we do is we ask every artist, how did they do this? How did this happen? How did you find the agency to keep on going? And I had tons. I mean, I could talk forever. But we have all these great artists on. And of course, we'll talk about technique as well.
Certainly.
But the Art Agents is all about you're not alone. You're not alone. Come in, ask anything you like. And, it's an abundance thing. Let's grow together and see what are your problems and we can help you with it. It's basically that. It's a free way to come on and say, I have this problem. Not a psychiatrist kind of thing, but I don't know how to do this or how to do that or how to get from point A to point B. How did you do it? And I'll say this, and this is a good idea. I'm talking abstracts there, but that's what it's like. You don't know what's coming until the question's asked. And I don't know what your woes are. And that's the reason why Rachel and Melanie are on there, because they are, another generation. We're going to have Marshall on quite soon. We're going to meet with Marshall. Yeah, we're going to talk with Marshall tomorrow. I'm going to introduce Rachel and Melanie. And I think a good conversation there would be, the wizards and the apprentices. So there was me and Marshall. We grew up in a time when things were totally different, but many similarities. And now things are totally different, but with many, many similarities. And we work out what those differences are and how we can take the best from both sides. I haven't been to Lightbox, for instance. We're going to talk about that.
You have not been to Lightbox?
I've never been to Lightbox. And I
Oh, we got to change that.
Got to change it, yeah. What do you recommend it?
Very much so. With the deepest recommendation I can possibly give to any live event for artists.
Wow.
Obviously, some people, if they're trying to sell something in particular, you should know what the kind of buying crowd is. If someone comes through and they're trying to sell something for like $1,300, it's probably not going to be the group for it. Yeah. But if a person wants to network and otherwise have a good time meeting other artists that they can't meet absolutely anywhere else, it's the best place for it.
That's a really important thing as well. I was guest of honor at Dragon Con, which was wonderful. They flew me out. They put me up in a suite. Now, I've never been treated so well. Put me up in a suite in Atlanta. And I thought, I've never been treated like this, like a king, like a king. I started the abuse. I go, where's my ice cream? Where's my horse and feather? I had a handler and stuff. People wouldn't get me things. Where's my horse and feather? Bring me my ice cream. It was wonderful. But I had giant oil paintings there. Nobody's buying a giant oil painting.
Yeah.
At Dragon Con. But the books, I had to order them in from Amazon. They came in, boom. And they're not from Amazon, from Carrero Press. Boom, they come in.
They sell like gangbusters.
Oh boy, they were flying off. So that's a $20 place. Sell things for $20 and they will fly off the table. I remember those books coming through. A guy wheeled them in. Boy, they were so good, that company, putting them in a day's notice. They just shipped them right in. And when I saw the boxes of books, I went, I've overcommitted this. I have overcommitted because I've got to get on a plane. And
what are you going to do with all these books?
What am I going to do with all these books if they don't sell? You should have seen them sell. Boom, 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 boom. I had to get an assistant to help me sell them. I went up to my hotel room, was throwing money up in the air like that. It was just fantastic. So that's a place to sell books and posters, but it's not a place to sell paintings. And that's a good bit of intel for Lightbox, because that sounds like the same kind of place. You got to know what kind of convention it is. Now, just have a look at what I've done here, by the way, guys. And notice that I swipe back with the back of my hand. That's just a quick ghost. Just call that a quick ghost. And when I swipe back, I swipe with the rhythm of the drawing as well. I don't do this. And I don't erase like that. Very rarely, anyway. I sweep and keep that.
What is? So that's to reinforce the gesture of it. So any smear you get reinforces that line.
Yeah. And also it keeps my hand gestural. So let's say I'm doing this all day and conducting music, and then I go start hammering a block of wood like this all day, and then I've got to conduct music. I'm going to be conducting music like I've got a hammer in my hands. So it's like that. I keep the flow all the way. Now, notice how I took this and moved over here and broke it down to the bare bones. Do you see that? But it's gestural structure. I'm going over here and making it even simpler. If you can do that, you'll never fear coming back to that middle part again, because this is reinforcement. This is the internal art engine being fed its muscle memory, and also the shapes, the mnemonics. These are mnemonics. These are shapes. They're no longer muscles and anatomy. They're no longer bones and sinews. They're shapes that reoccur. And here you can call this bubble shapes if you want, whatever kind of mind you have. So I love So I'll put those shapes in, and then I'll hard edge them. I'll go, where are the bones?
Now,
the bones.
For this one that you're putting to the side, this is you chasing the same figure structure each time. Like you're trying to chase the same pose.
It's the same thing over and over, just to reinforce what I just did.
What was it that made you want to pursue doing another to the right of that one in the middle? What were you trying to hone? That's
a good question, Stephen. The more you start to render, there's very little render in any of these drawings, but if you render a piece and then you start another piece, you're so tight because you've ended tight on the last thing. And it's a bit like that conductor thing. If you've ended tight and you're doing the darkest lines last, you'll start the next drawing tight with dark lines. And so what I want to do is I want to ease out. It's like animation, ease in and out. I want to ease out of this drawing and get back into that rhythm again, so that the next drawing I do starts like this drawing on the right. And if I don't do that, I've basically I've crushed my gestural soul with too much structure by the end. Not too much, but gesture has started to become and render. Like, people know from my teaching, there's 3 hells. There's gesture hell, which is the best hell because everything looks good anyway. There's render hell, which is the absolute worst because everyone leans on that. They lean on it when they know they've done a bad thing and they're trying to hide all their errors. And then there's structural hell in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to end with the gestural heaven, because gesture will always look good. Get back to the gesture again. It's the most fun thing you can do, and it is the life force of the art. It's the life force. This last drawing has way more life than the other 2 previous to it. Way more life. And that is because of the rhythm continuously flowing through the gesture, which runs through structure. People say, what is gesture? It's the rhythm that runs through and across and over anything at all. And you could say the line of action is gesture, one line, and it is. Well, there's many lines of action. And so that gestural stuff has to keep coming back. But you can see why you need structure. See the arm in that last one that I've done? It's like jelly, right? It needs some structure in it. It needs that scapula back in. It needs a little bit of hard edge on the bones. So if you want to know where to put the structure, go to the bones, go to the elbows, go to the rib cage. I'll always hit that 7th and 8th rib over there just to get that peak. It's always so beautiful. Always hit that iliac crest if it's showing, and coming down to the hip there. The hip's flat on the female figure from that angle. And here I go again, and this will take all your fear away. Because when you finish a drawing, you go, I don't want to do another drawing, because I see this all the time. A student will rest on the laurels of a good drawing, and everyone that comes over, they're frightened to start again because they don't want anyone to see a chicken scratch. So they'll keep the good drawing there all the time. They'll just hone it. They'll in render hell. They can't get out of hell because people go, ooh, ah. And what they don't realize is they're watching someone in fear. They're frightened to get out of the render because they know that no one's going to be impressed with the chicken scratches. Where I and everyone that goes through this life go, show me the chicken scratching, because that's where it all shows its magic. That's where all the information is. You can't work anything out of gesture. I have a Frazetta book here, and I remember as a kid, I love the Death Dealer. I love this. What am I looking for now? The ones that weren't really finished. The ones that we went, I can't be bothered finishing that. And I go, there it all is.
There's like the wisdom, the structure, the building. You can see the bones inside the building.
Yeah. Look at all the structure in that. Look at all the gesture in it. There's no render in it yet. Now I can see through the fog of render. Render hell has been unveiled to show us all that beautiful gestural structure.
Patrick, I have two things here to use to wrap this up. So you're not going to refine this drawing any farther in this video, correct?
That's correct.
There's probably voiceover happening at this point.
Yeah, not yet. I'm going to voice this over.
Okay.
So that's a perfect segue to where you go next with this, and that's why this is kind of an idea of osmosis. And then you go to the fantasy female figure, and it's got render in it, because it sounds like I'm demonizing render. I'm not.
No.
For me, render has to be a beautiful thing, and it is a beautiful thing. But once it's over rendered, it no longer is. It makes me ill when I see an over rendered drawing, because I can see why it's over rendered, and it's to hide mistakes. You can see all the mistakes under. If you can look into it, when you get to this stage where you can see how it all works, you'll go, oh my, look what they're hiding here with this render. So the drawing should be finished when the artist goes, everything is beautiful. There's a song, isn't there? There's a song, everything is beautiful.
That's the point. When you hear those lyrics, that's the point.
Yeah.
Patrick, I wanted to answer a couple questions that people have here about your courses. So 2 things. So people were asking, how much is the course? They said there are multiple. So there are some different courses that we've got here from Patrick that you can see. There's also some books. So don't think that you have to just buy a course. You can buy a book as well. And
Yeah.
the great thing about some of Patrick's books is they do operate like courses. You draw along with him. You work alongside those things. Like where is the which would you say is a good example of that, Patrick? Where people draw along with you in the book?
Oh, draw along, right? So that'd be the well, the lion eye is very much like drawing with render. That's what the lion eye is. So that's drawing from photographs. So I would call that the last book that you read.
Okay.
I would say the first book you would read is The Anatomy of Style and The Anatomy of Style 2. Now, let's say, The Anatomy of Style.
So, for example, that one, $16 for you guys out there. For anyone who's wondering, a similar thing for The Anatomy of Style 2, $16, a nice, comfy price. And then for his video courses, one that I do recommend from Patrick is The Power of Osmosis. That is this course here. That's $112 right now because of that sale is running for the whole rest of this month. That'll be going until December 4th. Chances are, if you're thinking, do I have enough time left to buy that course? Yes, you do. There's so much time left. And 20% is the steepest price that we have for the whole year. And depending on you, the person out there looking to buy a course possibly or a book, if you do purchase more things, so let's say you buy multiple courses from Patrick Jones, you can actually bundle those together and get an additional percentage off. So yeah, we try. But yeah, so the other question that people had about your courses, Patrick, was what is the order that you recommend? You said a book that you would recommend as the last one for people. What would you say is the last, is the first course that you recommend people look at of yours, and which one is the last one?
Let's say you're a monk on a budget, right?
Okay.
Let's say you only had $16. I would buy the study sheets. So if you want to go back there,
these here,
just a top one to the right on that one. Next one over, the Collected Anatomy of Style study sheets.
Oh, yes, so these right here.
Yeah. Now, disclaimer: these are the study sheets with some extra ones as well. They're collected from all the other books. So if you just wanted, let's say you couldn't buy the other books, all the study sheets. There's no draw along in this one. It's just the study sheets. I think it is anyway. I'd have to look at it again. I think I might have done a demo on it, but basically that's the idea. This was the original idea, is the study sheets for the students that I originally put on the boards and then photographed them. So this one has all the study sheets from all the other books, except for the Anatomy of Style 2, I think, because this was out before that. But anyway, that's a great thing to take the live draw class with you, or anywhere you go, because you can always just study it. You just go, oh yeah. You can, like I said, if you need to know a little bit of anatomy or a little bit of structure, you just go, oh, there it is there, and copy that little bit, get it into your motor memory, you know? So that's, if you could only, let's say you just have one thing you can get that will help you along, that would be it.
This is the one that you recommend?
Yeah. But the caveat is that those study sheets are in all the other books anyway, but they're split among them. So if you didn't want to buy the study sheets, even though there is some extra content in it, but you bought the other books, then you wouldn't need the study sheets. So if you go back to the books again, Stephen.
Oh, you want to go back to the, okay.
Yeah. So if you bought the books, it would be the Anatomy of Style. Where is it?
This one here?
Yeah, that would be number one.
Number one.
And then the Anatomy of Style 2, and then Figures from Life at the bottom.
Here.
That's actually my favorite book, Figures from Life.
Okay.
And then The Lion Eye would be the last one, because that's got render in it.
I see.
Okay.
And then for courses?
For courses, yeah, if you go back to them, Stephen, yeah. So I would say the fantasy figure drawing is based for beginners to intermediate. And then the Power of Osmosis. Yeah, that's the one. I love doing this. Look at this sign. I say leave the ego at the door. I would love to buy these. Honestly, I know it sounds ridiculous, but my heart is. I took one of my books out today to see how I look at it. With unfiltered glasses after it being 10 years old, and I looked at it and I went, I'm really proud of that.
I drew the hell out of those.
I really put everything into that. So I'm really proud because that's the reason I started teaching, was I wished I had had a teacher that would teach me this stuff. And so I just kept on doing it. So fantasy figure drawing, wizardry, Power of Osmosis, how to draw the fantasy figure female.
Mhm.
And see
And
that
then-
little yeah, and
Okay.
see that little animation one over there on the right.
Uh-huh.
I think even though that maybe it seems like, oh, we're getting out of fantasy, it's not. It's still fantasy. And if you click on that, it's kind of the fun of it.
I'll take that.
I teach drawing for animation, and if they can't draw the figure, they can't draw anything beyond rubber hose cartoons. If you
Agreed.
press, if you press the button there
You wanna see
on it,
this video here?
yeah, you can see what I do is I create an entire cast. So I'm story building this. I love making this course, and it's quite a cheap course too.
Yeah.
So I story build. I like you saw that little sheet at the start there. That's what I do. I build a sheet of characters, and I talk about who could this kid be. He's the son of an industrialist. He's spoiled. He's evil. Who does this girl love? Who's the sheriff? I have this whole story as I go through, and I create a story with characters in it, and then I do a turnaround for the characters. See that?
Makes sense. Yeah, based in the idea of something technical,
Of
but
actually-
still giving that style.
So this course was built on me teaching my university students life draw, and then take them in the animation in that order, and then we started drawing cartoons, and boy did it help them so much.
Absolutely. No, it would. It's something people I think forego a lot. They think that they see something simple and they think that it's just that simplicity and that's all they have to do. But even just in here, the shape design, the thing that you've got, the way that you render something, these are all taking in the classical principles of art. Those are all considered in there. It's not just that you're placing a single line and that's it. There's knowledge and wisdom behind those lines. And it means way more than just placing this single line that's just a little wee.
Yeah, and it's fun. And see that character I'm drawing on the right there. I remember because you've seen Alana that from earlier.
Uh-huh.
She's my favorite, one of my two favorite models, and she comes with me. A few favorite. I don't like to say favorites, but she's been with me forever. And when we were drawing the cartoons after her posing in the life draw, my students were going, "Is that Alana?" Of course it is. Of course it's Alana.
It's always Alana.
It's Alana as a cartoon, except for that one there. See that little cheeky one that I just drew in the middle there? Just over to, in between there was a tiny little face because I can't use the cursor. But just go back a little bit. There was a cheeky little face I was drawing just near the end there, in between the Alanas.
Let's see which this one here?
Yeah, that's my sister Donna.
You're taking these things from real life and then putting this into this.
I'm just looking at the character because I know them so well. And once you get to know, people's personalities, you have to draw animation. You have to be able to look and understand and pull out of your memory, what kind of character is this? My sister Donna takes no prisoners.
So here's that wrap up. You were saying the order that you recommend for these, you like the fantasy figure drawing as the first one. That's like your core.
Yeah.
And then Power of Osmosis.
Yes.
And then How to Draw Fantasy Female Figures. That's the order that you recommend for these courses for you.
100%. If you're a person that likes order, I'm chaotic. I'm a pantser. I fly by the seat of my pants. If I want to do render, I see a render course, I'll go do that. And then I'll learn what I don't know. I'll go,
I don't think
this
there's
is
anything
hard.
wrong with that.
I need to do some basics. So jumping in at the deep end is not a terrible thing because it teaches so. If you've got the grit to go, I'm not going to give up. Jumping into the deep end teaches you what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So you could learn by jumping in the deep end because you don't know what you don't know. But the second you try something difficult, then you know what you don't know. So back you go. So you could do that. You could buy them all and say, I'm going to challenge myself and go to the render and I'm going to render something and see what I don't know.
This makes sense to me.
And then I go back to the wizardry and go, it's in here because Patrick told me earlier that here it is. And you could reinforce it that way. There's no one way to learn.
Agreed. Agreed.
Way.
That's the hard thing when anyone asks a question like that, like what is the order in which I learn these things? I think the only useful possible exercise in that is a situation like this very moment where we got to ask you how you envision that. But there's no reason that you have to adhere to that study plan. You don't even have to go through the course in the exact order necessarily of something. Just do it as you see fit. But yeah, Patrick, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving us that order.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So Art by Lefty asks, so what was recommended after the study sheets? All the rest of the books.
Yes. Well, the study sheets. If you want to be an oil painter, you can go in and get the techniques book and then get the mastery book, which comes after that. If you want to oil paint, but yeah, the study sheets is basically if you buy the other books, you don't need the study sheets unless you want that as a compact guide. Because people do buy the study sheets even though they've got all the other books, because it means it's just one book. And so they just take that with them. And it has extra stuff in it. I wish I had it with me here so I could see if I think I always, here's my ethos, Stephen. I always promise and then I over deliver. I always do that. I think that's a really good model. And so when I do something, and so I'm pretty sure in that study sheets I put more in as well. So it's not just the study sheets from the other books. But if you buy the other books, you don't need the study sheets because they're in the other books.
Yeah.
But if you're a completist,
yeah, you can have them all, and it is kind of convenient to have all of those things as the one PDF right there in this one collection. Mr. Kidbro asked here, just want to get this one last thing in here. Are you going to do another live stream? Yeah, we're doing them like every single freaking day for the whole rest of this month.
Have you been doing one a day, Stephen?
We are. We've been doing them every single day here on the YouTube channel. If you've already followed us here on YouTube, you have a whole back catalog of all of the rest of the days that have already been happening this month. You'll have another one for every single other day of this with plenty of other fantastic artists like Patrick Jones, but never the exact same as Patrick Jones because that man's one of a kind. I want to recommend to people here that you should follow Patrick Jones on this thing that you see below me here on screen. You can find Patrick Jones's courses here. You can find Patrick Jones and a whole lot of other Patrick Jones over at pjartworks.com. You can find his podcast that you can listen to while you work, which I can only recommend because I think a lot of times people put some music on, like a movie score or something as they work in the background, but you can have actual art wisdom just weaseling its way in there, and there's no reason not to.
It's a seeper.
Yeah.
And Marshall's coming on next. Yeah.
Marshall's the very next person for you guys?
I think he's coming up next year. We're going to just have a sit down with Marshall. I think it's tomorrow. Thursday, I'm going to sit with Marshall. It's not going to be televised. Okay. It's not going to be televised. Look how analog that is. The revolution will not be televised.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys are going to do the revolution. It won't be televised. But yeah.
We're going to just hang out with Marshall because he's such a great person to hang out with. I talked with Marshall on the phone for like an hour. And that's so old school. I don't remember talking to anyone on the phone for an hour. Just on a phone.
No, Marshall's a very good chat. I think people should check that one out. It will be a good conversation. Whatever you think will come from that conversation, I'm going to go ahead and say now, it won't be the thing that you'll get from it. It's going to be something that you could have never seen coming. So you should definitely check it out.
That's what I want.
Yeah, Patrick, I hope we get to do this again. I know that every single year we get to do a couple different live streams like this, around different sales that we have usually because it's a nice, easy way to promote things for people and a nice little added benefit. But I hope we get to do one of them outside of a live stream and then we get to talk again later this year, maybe.
I'm happy to do it anytime. Call me.
All right.
Call me. I'm all music today. Call me. Is that Blondie? I can't remember.
I mean, that I do believe that is Blondie. But yeah, Patrick, thank you again. Everyone out there, have a good one. Remember to go draw something, paint something, sculpt something, whatever it is that you make, go do it.
Do it.
Carry this energy forward.
Be creative.
See you guys later.
Right. Good luck with your art adventures, guys.